6:02 now. Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 323. We got a few people on voice chat tonight, and it should be a fun night. We'll be with you after the intro. I knew I forgot something. There we go. Yeah, CPU's maxing out. Oh, what's happening with the CPU? So Windows has been trying to sabotage us lately, you see. And it seems to be using more CPU than it used to, unfortunately. But until I get more money and new computer, it is what it is.
Was that Rob's dog? That German Shepherd?
Yeah, they're clips from various live shows that we've done.
Beautiful dog.
I meant to update the intro, but it's just a matter of finding time to do it. Change it every 6 months just to give it some fresh look. But so busy on this UFO stuff. JD's on the side already. Hey JD, how's it going? Where is everybody though?
I don't know, I advertised.
I know. They all watch it offline, I know.
Probably, yeah.
There we go. We're up to the hello.
Hello.
Good morning, guys.
Good to be back. I'll be back. Okay, we got some just general rules here. No hardcore swearing on the side. Be civil to everybody. Let's have fun and no self-promotions and trolling and all that sort of other stuff that nasty people do. Oh, what's happened? Paul has stuffed up. Hang on. Hopefully we'll get rid of that. Okay, so yeah. So it's pretty much a free-for-all for Earl to So yeah, it always does that.
My goodness.
Hang on, we got it this time. There's a few glitches, always happen. Okay, so yeah, we got free-for-all Earl to talk about various aliens and UFO stories that he's been investigating in the last 2 years. Or maybe this year. A lot happens in a year, doesn't it? So Earl's from MUFON, South Cal, a chief investigator. Was it Star Team still? Are you with the Star Team still?
I'm Star Team. I'm actually chief investigator for Southern California. I'm the assistant state director. I am an ERT member and a Star Team member. So I'm a busy boy. I've got my, I love UFOs. I love the phenomenon. It's my passion in life. So there you go. A lot of my time goes into it. A lot of my passion goes into it. I hear a lot of UFO stories from people. And interestingly enough, it seems like people that hang out with me wind up having UFO stories themselves. So I think maybe it's contagious. I don't know. It's very strange how the phenomenon works. But
well, it's happened to me
before. Yeah, it has happened to you. And I know that Paul hadn't had an experience until we started talking. So I don't know why, but they say that it may be a contagion, that alien contact may be a contagion, and I don't know that it's a bad contagion. I think it's for me it's enhanced my life. It's made my world more interesting. I have amazing friends. I know more doctors and scientists than I don't think I really. I worked for a couple of doctors as a nurse before, but I certainly didn't know astrophysicists and such. And now, I even got to debate Seth Shostak at Alien Con during lunch, and that's true. I got to debate him. Supposedly, the people at the table said that I won the debate, and
Right.
so I don't know. UFOs can kind of enhance your life, and it certainly makes life more interesting. That's for sure.
Yes. Yep.
If you like life in a little tiny box, then you shouldn't get into UFOs.
Would you say, though, Earl, it was all positive at the time?
For me, I mean, it's mostly positive. I've talked a little bit before about my own personal experience that I had when I became when I started working as a field investigator for MUFON. And my wife and I had a weird week where I had a visit. Our room flooded with light for a couple of nights. And it was very strange, especially for my wife, because she just kind of thought that it was, she thought it was interesting, but it certainly wasn't something personal. But if you poke at the universe will sometimes poke back, is what I found. And it became a personal thing. And when I had my own personal experience, I won't say that it was really positive while it was happening. I think that mostly looking back at it, I'll use John Mack's term that it was ontological shock, where it seemed like the rug was pulled out from under me, or the tablecloth was pulled out from under my dishes. It changed the way that I looked at the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was certainly not a personal thing until that happened. And so with 6 years on since I had that strange experience, I would say now that yes, it was a positive thing. It's not it wasn't a recurring thing for me either. For those who have recurring visits, who are taken, and who are having their DNA taken on a regular basis and stuff like that, it can be very difficult.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm one of the lucky ones, I guess. I had, one strange face-to-face, and then I had a couple of sightings afterwards that I think that were actually, that were involved with that original experience. It seems to me like I have a friend who had something similar happen, and she said that she felt like her third eye was opened up, And I know that sounds new agey, and she's certainly not a new agey person, but that was, I thought, was actually a good term for it. It seemed like it opened that up in my life, and I started having some high strangeness experiences. Now, what really happens mostly is I'll have synchronicities in my life, which I think are like magic. They're beautiful, and that happened because of my contact experience, I believe, is the synchronicities that I experience.
I think it's who you connect with, I think it's who you connect with. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Kevin Day was saying since that encounter on the Nimitz that he's had some very strange synchronicities, and it was interesting to hear you say that as well, because I wasn't sure if the guy had, that he'd been disturbed by it or not, but his life has certainly changed, and he believes for the better.
Yes. Kevin's a good guy, and I like Kevin, and I haven't met him face to face. We were going to meet face to face at the symposium this year, and of course, unfortunately, the COVID virus messed that up for all of us, as well as many other things in our lives. But I am friends with Kevin. I email with him and do Facebook stuff with him. And it definitely changed his life. And I think that he would probably say the same thing that I'm saying, that ultimately it was for the better. His universe got much larger than it used to be,
Certainly.
Yeah.
How long have you worked for MUFON? And how many cases a week do you get from people?
It depends on the week, but I'm very busy. I've been with MUFON almost 6 years now. I've closed upwards. Well, we're getting close to 600 cases that I've personally closed. The majority of them, well, it kind of goes along with J. Allen Hynek's percentages. He said that 90 to 95% UFO cases can be explained prosaically. And he was right. People will see mylar balloons spinning in the wind and air current, and it'll be moving along. And it looks like it's doing Morse code at them. People will see iridium flare satellites. They'll be blinking their laser pointers at them.
And screaming UFO.
Exactly. And that's 90 to 95% of them. But then, you have people that see large craft, and with lights spinning around. And you don't do a stealth craft with lights, it's like Las Vegas, you want to run toward it like Travis Walton did. And I think that's the idea. I think that when a person has a real UFO sighting, that it's a contact moment. That personally, I'm starting to believe that people don't really see UFOs accidentally. I think that it's that when somebody sees something, that they're being contacted, that something's going on there that's personal. So, and that is maybe 5 to 10% of my cases, and those are the interesting ones. Out of the 5 to 10% of those cases, a lot of them I can't prove, and I'll wind up giving it, insufficient data category and stuff like that. But when I have more than one or two or three witnesses, or if just everything just opens up, I mean, you get so that you can tell which cases are the interesting ones, and those are that's what keeps me doing what I do. And that's why I'll go through mylar balloon. And if I get a case that's a mylar balloon, I still have to do just as much paperwork. I have to explain why it's a mylar balloon. I have to do the weather and the wind currents and all that on the report. And I'll interview the person to make sure. But that's mostly I'm getting drones, mylar balloons, and stuff like that.
Well,
the interesting cases make it all worth it.
I think Paul would have a big long list to write out about mylar balloons that we see on the channel. There's that many of them.
What kind of tools do you use for when you go investigate? Do you do the same process? Measure radiation. Look at take daylight snapshots of where they're standing and all that sort of stuff. What's your process you go through?
It would be nice if people, I know that there's this French ufologist, Dr. Pierre Petit, who came up with a little gadget that you can put on your phone that you take a picture of. If you see a light in the sky, it'll tell you what chemicals are there. It'll give you a spectral reading. And if everybody carried that along with themselves on their iPhone, then it would be much more helpful. Then I would be able to look at a light in the sky and I'd be able to tell them if it was anomalous or if it was an iridium flare satellite. But nobody has those on their phone. I have one on mine, but I'm just one person. So usually, lights in the sky and stuff. I mean, what I will tell people is that, that could have been a UFO. You can tell your kids that you may have seen a UFO, but it also might have been a drone. It might have been something prosaic. It could have been a police helicopter. Lights in the sky are just not very interesting, unfortunately.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. They're not. Yeah. Oh, well. It might be a spaceship. It might be a helicopter, but kind of how it goes with those.
Well, I had my sighting about 2 years ago now, something like that. And this is purely by accident. I was out in my back garden and I just looked up and I explained it to Paul that it was like one of those Star Wars drones that comes down to looking for Luke, if you remember in the Star Wars films. But it was like a ball in the sky. And it was about a mile, something like that high. And the wind was we got big trees on the back of our house, and they were all blowing. The trees were the branches, and this thing just sat in the sky for about 4 minutes.
Huh? Wow!
And it never moved an inch for about 4 minutes, and it was like the sun was shining off one side. It was like glistening, like sunny and dark, and it was dark on the other side. It was just like a ball, and after about 4 minutes, it just shot off in a dead straight line for about a mile and a half, and then just come dead to a dead stop again. And it stayed there for about a minute, and then it just went invisible. You know,
well, that was a UFO,
amazed,
Charles. You saw a UFO. That has all the attributes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, okay. If somebody sees something that I mean, a lot of things could be balloons. They could be, blimps. They could be this, that, and the other thing. But what I'm looking for is when something will break the laws of physics, or they'll do stuff that we technically can't do. Now, maybe it's ours. Maybe it's military. That I don't know. I mean, I don't have any security clearances, but that sounds anomalous. What you saw, that is a UFO. It has all the attributes of a UFO.
It had no wings and nothing. Just looked like a ball.
That's crazy.
It just the way it just sat there dead still. It was just amazing me. And I was screaming for the missus to come out, and I didn't want to move away from where I was in case come back.
Bring the camera.
Bring
the camera.
The way it just shot off in the perfect dead straight line, straight for sideways it went.
That's wonderful.
It just comes straight to a dead stop. It just happened in about a second and a half, for about a mile and a half so, and it just stopped dead, and then just stayed there for a minute, and then just went. Then it was like it just disappeared. It never moved. It just disappeared.
They haven't said that.
UFO, Charles.
Yeah,
beautiful.
They haven't said that. The only thing there that you can rule out being balloon is the strong wind that he's mentioning. If it was dead steady and a strong wind, then that means it's got energy against the wind, which a balloon doesn't have.
Yeah. So the big tree branches were really moving in the wind.
And this was bright silver, was it? Or it was a bright silver one you said.
Yeah.
No obvious means of propulsion. It didn't have a propeller. It didn't have a jet engine.
No wings, nothing.
Yeah.
Just like a ball.
Anti-gravity.
And when it had moved across the sky, it didn't leave any trail or nothing. There's nothing there to say they've been there. There's just nothing there.
I reckon I would have given your case an unknown classification. That's a really good sighting that you have.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
But the balloons came disappear.
Paul always says.
Yeah.
It's like Paul always says, we should have a third eye that we can record with.
Has anything else weird happened since you saw that? Have you had anything? No? Okay.
No. I mean, years ago, I put it down to like something, but Paul's explained that to me, so I put that away. Put that to bed. So,
99% of the signs, I think, are mundane. The rest of it is unknown. But balloons, if they pop, they disappear. So if a person sees something drifting along and then it disappears, often that's the case that it's popped and it vanishes into a little strip of mylar or whatever, and they don't see the rest of it fall down.
Again, now I have a case that I closed last year. And I spoke with a guy again a couple of days ago. He's recently he wrote a book about his experience and other experiences, and it wasn't a UFO book. It was just one of the interesting stories he told.
Right.
A filmmaker, gentleman he was living out in Los Angeles for a long time, but he and two friends were in Malibu Canyon and Topanga Canyon, which is kind of well known. Topanga Canyon is a hot spot. It really truly is. And they'd gone to a movie and they were walking across the street to the famous Topanga Canyon Grill, where Neil Young and Joni Mitchell played impromptu concerts at and stuff. It's been there a long, long time. Very well known little place. But they're going across the street. None of them were into UFOs. When suddenly these three like giant plasma balls. They're shaped like footballs, and they said that each one was about the size of a UPS truck. I'm not sure if you guys have those in the UK or not, but about 25 feet across. And these three balls, they just like voom, voom, voom right over these guys as they're walking across the street to get some dinner. They were just gobsmacked. They didn't know what to do about this. They just stood there with their jaws dropped to the floor, and these three things just hovered there, perfectly silent, no noise at all. Two of them went and shot off towards the ocean, and they appeared to be under intelligent control. The guy really wanted to call it ball lightning. That's what he told me. He said, "Could it be ball lightning? I mean, I don't know what it was." It's like, well, no, ball lightning will only last 3 to 4 seconds max. That's every single case of ball lightning. So it's a very transient phenomena. This kept its shape, and it seemed to be under intelligent control. So it seemed like there was one of these football-shaped balls of plasma for each person, and the two of them shot off towards the ocean, and then the last one, and the one that was in the middle, kept hanging there over the crosswalk that these guys were going across, and then it just blinked out of existence. It just was like suddenly not there.
Yeah, that was like mine just disappeared.
So I think that's definitely one of those anomalous factors that are in real UFO cases.
When you
it's
say,
not always a balloon popping,
When you say they're under intelligent control, could that still be a drone of a UFO kind?
Could be.
I think that they're standing some of these crafts down for surveillance. And like we talked about one case the other day with Paul about an Israeli one where they saw these things, and then
Charles, who's to say? Hang on, Charles, but who's to say how big aliens are? They might be as big as insects. They might be insects, right?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That might have been a mothership.
Yeah, that's right. It might be full of ants, with super high intelligence that build it.
It's beyond my knowledge of the phenomena. I can't tell you if it was one of ours or if it was one of theirs.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It doesn't sound like one of ours. I mean, I can see that. I think that we probably have some kind of. There's stories about Roswell and us collecting technology from that, and we've had 72 years now to experiment with whatever went down there, and I'm personally, I believe that the Roswell crash was of an alien craft. I don't think it was from the Germans. I don't think it was any of just because the government keeps coming up with excuses for it. They've had 7 or 8 different excuses that they've proposed, and it seems like it's just this big embarrassment for them that they can't make go away. So we've had a long time to figure this stuff out, and maybe we have figured some of that out,
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. I can't tell you that for sure. So we call it a UFO. A UFO isn't necessarily an alien spaceship. It might be a black project of some kind, but it's something that we don't know about, that we can't explain. The technology is certainly out of our purveyance of what we can do. It's not something that we can't evade gravity yet, as far as the public knows. Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't know if they're interdimensional or multi-universe or traveling from other parts of the universe using some sort of spending space to get here quicker. There's all sorts of unknowns. There's more questions than there are answers, and I think it's always going to be that way.
I think so too, Paul.
All cards on the table.
Yeah. Paul, what do you think? Do you think they're interstellar or interdimensional?
I kind of think that might be multiverse. Actually, I'm starting to think that they're coming from other. Well, I've got a little diagram that I drew here once. Let me see if I can find it on a previous live show, and I'll see if I can explain it to you. I don't think the ones that I'm interacting with, paranormal, the ghost entities and all that, I think they're coming from another dimension, whether it's multi-universe or I think it's that one there. Yeah. Multi-universe or through a fourth dimension, I can't say. So say we got Earth here now, currently as we're in it now. There may be other multi-universes which are identical to us, but there may be either one that's really close to our time, give or take a few seconds, and there might be an older one that's a few seconds younger. And we might have one that goes into 5 years into the future. They may be 5 years ahead of us. And I somehow think they're coming from a multi-universe where they're ahead in time and they're coming into our dimension through a membrane. See the little circles I've drawn around here just to represent the universe. The universe, I believe, is like a big sphere. It's not like a big endless blocks that goes in all different directions. It's like everything seems to be, Mother Nature seems to be a sphere. It wants to be a sphere to be the best of way of conserving energy. So inside each of these universes, they overlap like these circles here, like a Venn diagram. And where they intersect is where they can come into our dimension. So I believe there's various ages of similar Earths out there, which are all connected and overlapping through these membranes. And some will be like in the dinosaur days. They got the same sort of identical DNA and all that sort of stuff. And there may even be duplicates of us out there that sort of develop in exactly the same way. That's what I'm sort of leaning towards through my strange experiences.
Yeah.
So it also doesn't work.
A lot of people go that direction. You know, I mean, J.L. and Hynek went that way. His son Paul Hynek is a very good close friend of mine, and Paul Hynek is definitely an interdimensionalist. He doesn't think that they're coming from other planets per se. That they're coming. And
this could explain the Mandela effect. And everyone says the Mandela effect is real, where people remember Star Wars being slightly different here and there. It may be that it's an identical Earth that's very close to us in this level of multi-universes, where Star Wars character had a silver leg and not a gold leg, and all that sort of business. And McDonald's spelt with an A, and spelt with an A and without an A, you know, because it fits Big Mac, you see, and all that sort of stuff. Whether it's bad memory, it's more likely to be bad memory, but it also could fit in with this model here, the multi-universes, where you go to sleep at night and for some reason the membrane overlaps and it sucks you into the other universe, and it's identical. You switch beds with the other person that's in the bed when it crosses over, and you switch into another Earth-like thing, and it seems all the same, but the people seem slightly different around you. And you think you're losing your mind, like maybe your mum's slightly different, maybe she's a bit more moodier than she usually is, and all that sort of business, you know. There are people who actually believe all this out there, and they think the CERN, when they do the experiments, triggers the multi-dimensions to trigger, and somehow we get switched to another Earth. There could be like hundreds of them, you know, and we're being switched back and forth. It's kind of a crazy idea, but we can't prove it. And of course, it does away with the need... It doesn't, hang on, let me just finish this. It does away with space-time too, because since each of the universes are either slower in time or way ahead in time, it does away with need of time travel, because they're just coming from another universe that's advanced in tech, and their Earth is actually 1,000 years older or whatever, or 1,000,000 years older. So that's why the technology... when people say that these aliens are from our future, well, in fact, they might be from not our future and such, and maybe from a duplicate Earth in a multi-universe future. And they're coming to our Earth to try and fix their Earth because their DNA got damaged by maybe some sort of nebula explosion, which X-rayed and made them all steroids. So they might be coming to our Earth to try and kick off their population thing, or they maybe know there's going to be some disaster coming up because all these Earths follow the same path in each of the universe. They may have the same outcomes. They're trying to preserve our life because it's unique to what their life is, because they're more greys or whatever mantis insect like, and they're taking it back to their universe to populate another planet similar to Earth. So when this one gets destroyed, the ones they saved could live on. So there's all sorts of great sci-fi stories you could build into this concept that I've got here.
Oh, heck yeah.
So if there's any Hollywood producer out there who wants to take it, let me know. But I think it's a great idea for us.
It's a lot like a Mandelbrot fractal. I think that the universe may be like a fractal. If you are familiar with doing fractal zooms, especially like the Julia set fractals or the Mandelbrot set, you'll see repetitions of the same thing, but they're always just slightly different.
Yep.
And the further that you get away from the original image, the stranger it gets. But eventually you'll find the original image again too. It's like a repeating thing. And Arthur C. Clarke, one of my favorite science fiction authors, and it was a scientist as well. He called the Mandelbrot set God's thumbprint. He felt like, that you could go into a rainforest and you would look at ferns, or look at the way that things are constructed, just naturally and through nature, that they're constructed on the same principle as the Mandelbrot set fractals. So, and I think that way too. I sort of recognize that. And it wouldn't surprise me if our visitors are coming from another dimension or multiple dimensions. I mean, maybe that's our future. Maybe it's not so much space flight as it is dimensional travel. And one has to wonder why it seems like the DNA farming is a constant with all of these, most of the cases that I have, as far as people who are abducted or visited multiple times, where it starts oftentimes when they're a child and it goes on. With women, it usually stops at the end of menses when they go through menopause. For men, it tends to carry on throughout their whole lives. For some of the women as well, but it seems like they are the ones that are having the gynecological stuff going on. It's more like mentoring and spiritual, things that are being passed to them from entities. But the DNA farming is a constant, and I would say a good 80% of my cases have that, involved. And they're maybe they've ruined something and in their own DNA, and they're trying. We're
definitely all energy for sure. If you think of atoms, the smallest particles are just very dense energy, and that's sort of like little spheres of energy. That's sort of like you said, they're like a fractal sphere, and they're actually smooth on the outside. They're just continuously cycling of energy. And as you know, Tesla had this idea that the sun absorbs more energy than it gives out, because the atoms themselves are sucking what he called radiant energy from the universe, which we call now dark matter, pretty much the same thing. It's sucking dark matter into the sun, which is maintaining the atoms in the sun, and the fusion reaction is also happening, producing out heat that we live off, produces food on our planet. Obviously, the light plants make into leaves, which animals eat, and then we eat the animals. So it's a life cycle. But if you think of everything being energy, even through this multi-universe model, each of these are overlapping energy. There's no reason why also the idea that faraway galaxies could travel here by using this level energy that Tesla called the ether, which is really like dark matter. I'd class it as like dark matter. So they may find a way to enter into this dimension where dark matter exists and use it as a transport thing to go from long distances. which connect all the suns in the universe. So the suns are connected to this dark energy. So proving that would be a hard thing to do, but it's another good theory of how you could travel large distances very quickly. Also, there's no way, no reason why, if they figured out that we're all energy, there's no that they could duplicate us in another part of the universe and transfer our subconscious to the other living body, which is just like energy. And this body that they've left behind goes into like a dead state, but it's not actually dead. It's just dormant while they're in this other body in the other universe. And when they dissolve, they simply head back. I suppose a similar idea was used on a series called like Stargate Universe, was it?
Sure,
where they're jumping into subconscious of people on Earth to talk to their relatives or whatever. It's kind of same sort of concept.
You're edging on one of my favorite things to think about, because I often wonder, okay, the entities that most people see are the little gray guys with the black eyes, right? Those are the guys that are sort of ubiquitous. And once in a while you'll have mantis creatures, you'll have the tall whites and things like that. They're tall grays and variants. But the ubiquitous entities, non-human entities that people see are the little gray guys.
That's
and
right.
I sometimes wonder if maybe they're like if they're avatars, that it's a spacesuit for the soul. If they figured out some way. Because a bipedal creature, they may think that that's the best way to deal with us. So that might be more comforting to us than if it's an octopoid creature or something that looks like a spider, And maybe they've learned how to do that. And they might actually think that the little gray guys with the black eyes are comforting. Now, personally, I don't think they're all that comforting, but they're robotic acting, and somebody in a spacesuit might not be very.
That could be it.
Moving around in that spacesuit.
If you look at all the sightings where people have said it's like a little robot in a suit, it does sort of fit that method. Say if they come from this planet here in a multi-universe, they might not be able to travel in their own physical body, so they've created these bio-robots that they sort of...
How are they breathing our atmosphere? How are they breathing...
Well, they don't need to, because they're like Oh, right. Yeah, if they're by a robot...
Rhetorical question.
Yeah, they would have like some sort of, obviously a skin on them. I don't think they would breathe it. There would be like a biological synth, and basically the person can remote control it from this other planet. It could be somewhere else in the universe.
Intelligence.
Sorry, Robert?
It's an artificial intelligence possibly designed.
Yeah, it could be as well.
Function on this planet.
Yeah, collect data and then bring it back. Of course, yeah. There's all sorts of possibilities.
Of course, we may be like the sort of like the Cro-Magnon phase. Artificial intelligence may actually be what our destiny is, and I personally sort of hope not, because I like being a human. But then again, you might be able to live forever, and your mind would be a computer, and I know that people like Elon Musk and others, oh God, I can't say his name right now, but
the Russian
I'm not the
guy,
only person that thinks that way. That may actually be what our destiny is, and
that makes perfect sense, because already they're talking about what they call it, where they put microchips in you, and you become part machine.
It's going to happen in our lifetimes. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so. You may be onto something there. The robots, the greys, may be like empty shells that they can just put their conscience back into it. And then control it, and when it's damaged or done with, they just simply move their conscience to another body. Maybe that's what they keep growing in the test. Yeah, grow it in test tubes, right? That's what they're probably doing. They're just trying to make a better creature that can maybe live in our universe. Maybe their universe is dying, so they want to come to our universe here. So there might be all sorts of crazy sci-fi, which might be real science, and we just won't know in our lifetime, or maybe we'll never know how to even comprehend it. Like everyone said, if I told you about aliens, it would make you go crazy, because you wouldn't be able to comprehend how complex it is, how strange the universe is. So I think that might be it. I think some of us are going to be chosen and maybe get an insight to some of it. Like you got a visit, I got a visit. I think Rob's got a visit as well, although his one wasn't too pleasant either. Charles is yet to get a visit.
No.
Yeah.
Will.
You might. You've seen a UFO. As far as I'm concerned, I would have classified that an unknown. So that had been my case. I think that the phenomena, if anything, it's certainly interesting. It keeps me thinking. It keeps me on my feet. I really don't have a lot of things that I say it's this way and it has to be this way, because there's too many variables. But you do see repeating patterns in the phenomenon. The little gray guys with the black eyes are definitely the ones that people usually see.
Yeah,
they're usually kind of they're like worker bees. They're non-emotional. I think that it's a limited technology, and I find it interesting. Now they seem to have overseers. You'll have the mantis types that seem to be the philosopher kings, and they seem to be very, very psychic. But those are the guys that will speak to you mind to mind. There will usually be either a tall gray or a tall mantid that will say that you're going to be okay. We're not going to harm you. This is important. What's happening? You're helping us, and thank you. And it's all going to be okay. And they calm people. And but the little gray guys are scary as hell. And you hear that over and over again. You never hear really good stories about those guys.
Maybe it's because they've got no emotions or anything.
Yeah.
No, showing it.
They're robotic. They have they seem to have a mission. They're all business, and they do their thing, and then they're gone.
Yeah, that seems to be true. Yep.
Yeah.
Over and over, case to case.
What's this image here?
I hear it
this image here? It looks kind of creepy. Have you mirrored your face or something and shrunk it down or something?
Yeah, I
It kind of looks creepy, man.
I was bored one night. It's sort of like I'm always obsessed by that first Beatles album where half the face was gray, was black and in shadow, and half was in light. So I always seem to play with that. But I for some reason I like to have new avatars for Facebook and such. So that's there you go.
Let's have a look for
that one in a while.
Okay, let's just go through your images you sent me. That one looks like maybe a UFO. This thing here, is it?
Yeah, it's a starship. I was trying to get the idea of space time and sort of an interstellar grid there behind the spaceship. You can see a little planet up towards the left top there. And,
actually, you might not be too wrong here. You might not be too wrong here. This is what I'm talking about, this connection fibers from one universe to another. And it creates like a time, what do you call it? Stargate jump thing. What do you call them?
Well, you're going to have some way to beat the speed of light if you're traveling between stars. Obviously, you're going to have to trick the universe. Even a buzzard ramjet you're going to have to put people, in hibernation for hundreds of years to get anywhere.
Maybe not. Not if
I know you don't like Einstein. Yeah. Paul,
no, I don't think so. I think time always moves forward, but it doesn't mean that you can't be in space. In the sense that you can actually reduce the length of travel time, doesn't mean that you're actually able to go back in time or go forward in time. Time just keeps going on forward as a constant. But what I'm saying here is, It's creating that Rosen-Einstein bridge, or whatever it's called.
That's what I was kind of thinking of, was an Einstein-Rosen bridge kind of scenario there.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to show any kind of rocket engines on the spacecraft, so I tried to just kind of go for almost like a chicken foot kind of shape there. But
I think it's like
you'll see there are little windows on the side of it if you blow the.
I think it's like teleporting spooky action at distance, so transporting energy from one point to the other, and then it's reaffirming itself, like a teleport system, like Star Trek. So I don't think they're too far wrong, actually. So we got
Star Trek seems to have a little edge as far as reality goes.
Yeah.
It seems like the more they find out about our universe, the more it seems to mirror Gene Roddenberry's vision, which is, kind of cool, actually. Spock lives, right? Yeah.
Looks like we've got a side
now,
question
I used
here.
to live. I used to live near Leonard Nimoy. I used to watch him run his two golden retrievers in the park every morning. He was like clockwork. He'd be out there. He wanted to walk the dogs. They wanted to run him. So you'd see Spock like running behind two golden retrievers every day. Yeah, it's out here in the San Fernando Valley where I happen to be living now again. So
there's a question in the
Star
side
Trek
there.
is cool.
Question in the side there: when you were abducted and your wife was a witness to it, were you both paralyzed? Is the question.
My wife was not paralyzed so much as she was out. When I had my experience, it was out of the blue. I'll give you a little background. I don't talk about it too much usually, because I prefer to be known as a ufologist and not the abductee thing. But it's what it is. So I had just recently become a MUFON field investigator, and my boss Jeff Krause is kind of he was more nuts and bolts about the phenomena than I think he's kind of expanded and opened his horizons more than that.
We all do in this field.
yeah. But anyway, I was sort of trying a CE5 thing. It's sort of like, what the heck? Why not? And I used to do meditation when I was younger, and I sort of would try to get into a meditative state, and I was sending out the message of I want you to abduct me, which is maybe not something that you want to do, because apparently it worked. Now, I had been doing this for a couple of weeks. I had been working. I'd closed a couple of cases. One was a Mylar balloon. One of the cases was the triangular craft that I think actually probably was a UFO. But I was a newbie, and I really didn't know a whole lot. I think that I was pretty naive, and I thought that we were dealing with all benevolence and stuff. And I was hoping to meet Valiant Thor, or a beautiful, blonde woman from, Alpha Centauri or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, what happened was that I had a face-to-face experience where I was paralyzed. Our house flooded with our room flooded with light, and the walls started swirling like if you'd poured cream into a cup of coffee. And I had gray aliens come through the wall. And they weren't coming through the wall because our neighbor's house was about 20 feet away, So it had to have been sort of an interdimensional portal that they had opened up.
Definitely.
They came, they took blood or energy or both. I didn't find marks on my body, but it sure scared the hell out of me. I thought that they were going to kill me, because I was feeling they weren't talking to me. I was trying to communicate, and they weren't having any of that. There was a taller creature that was standing on the side, and that didn't communicate with me either. They got whatever it was that they wanted, whether it was energy, blood, or both. And then they retreated the same way backwards that they had come in. They didn't walk in. They didn't float either. It was almost like they glided somehow.
Yeah.
And the wall closed back up. I was still paralyzed. I wanted to scream. The room was still filled with light, and when I could move, I started screaming, and my wife was horrified, and she thought that I was going insane, or, she said, "Oh my God, you joined this crazy UFO group, and now you're seeing aliens, what have I gotten into?" So anyway, I didn't say anything else about it. I didn't sleep that night. I was just like kind of huddled into myself, and I was wondering what I'd gotten into as well.
Right.
A couple nights later, our room was flooded with light again, and my wife is who woke me up. And she was pacing back and forth, and she said, "You need to tell your little friends that they need to leave us the F alone." She didn't say F alone. She's, I know Paul doesn't like us to cuss on his show. He's a good guy here. So, but you know the word, and she said, I already have insomnia as it is, and I don't need this, Earl. And that was the end of that. And again, I'm like, well, at least she knows that I'm not insane now. Was my feeling. And I actually slept that night.
Right.
And a couple of nights after that, we both woke up, and again, our room was flooded with light. The light seemed to come from, it didn't have a source. It seemed to permeate the walls, but it was also coming through our window. So we ran to the window, and it was over our house, and it was too bright. You couldn't see an object. Neighbors' lights were actually going on, and then it blinked out of existence.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I both said this. We looked at each other. We said, "That wasn't the neighbor's porch light."
Do you think that was a craft?
Yeah. So thankfully, for me, thank God my wife, she knows this is a real thing. She hates for me to talk about this. I won't talk about it if she's with me, because it's just, she doesn't want other people to think that we're crazy and stuff like that. And
we're not
totally
crazy.
get that.
Now, you're lucky you could
scream.
scream, because when I had mine, I couldn't make any sound at all. I was screaming, but no sound was coming out. I was screaming in pain, actually, but with a needle in my back.
Yeah.
But when I looked into the eyes of this creature, I just felt calm. And a few seconds later, I was passed out, and that's all I remember. And then I woke up in the morning, absolutely pain-free. Which is abnormal, because normally I'd scream out in back pain, and I had no back pain. I had no back pain for at least a week, and then it slowly come back. A little bit at a time, but it's never ever been as bad as it's ever been, which is kind of strange.
That's good.
Yeah.
Maybe you need another visit.
Well, I want another visit so I can tell it's actually true and not me losing my mind. But I believe it actually happened, because One night I had a buzzing in my ear, and I think they were punish me for something, and all suddenly my back pain come back the next day, and it was unbearable. I had to go back on the drugs, and I begged out that night in my head. I was saying, "Please, can you please turn it on, turn on whatever you put in me back on?" And sure enough, I heard a ringing, a bit buzzing in my ear, and all the pain went.
Wow, I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that, Paul.
I'm
glad. That's good. I think we're dealing with evil aliens. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that I will stress firmly.
Yeah.
If they were evil, and we would be a slave race, or they would have destroyed us. And I don't know if we're a zoo or a wild animal park, or if they're waiting for us to evolve to where they can actually, call us brothers. But something's going on that I don't think it's malevolent in nature. And maybe they're helping us more than we know. We've all heard the stories about, nuclear, ballistic missiles being turned off. Yes, we've all heard that, and that those stories are true. I know Robert Solis. He's a friend, and I've heard him tell his story, point blank, and and there's nobody in the government that's saying that this is BS that he's putting out there. We know that that's a true story, and that he's not the only guy that has told stories like that. So maybe they've saved us from ourselves. I mean, Lord knows.
It could be that some are good and some are bad as well, just like humans. They're evil humans and there's good humans. That. Yeah.
But it seems like the good ones seem to have the upper hand, is what I think. At least that's my personal belief in this. I could be wrong. I mean, if aliens, take over tomorrow, don't you can curse at me if you want, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that they've had at least 71 years since Roswell where they could have done that, and I think they've been here a lot longer than that. Maybe they're waiting for us to reach some sort of higher vibration. You hear that repeated.
Or they may be studying us to work out which humans are worth saving, which ones are not. So who knows? Maybe they know the planet's going to. Maybe the planet's going to blow up, and they know it's coming, and they're just they're just seeking out which ones are, not so warmongering type between us and offer us. Yeah, carry on, Charles.
That's what I was just going to say. Paul. Maybe they maybe waiting for us to stop fighting between ourselves with all these wars all over the world all the while.
Yeah.
Before they
I think you got something there, Robert. I mean,
that's Charles.
That goes Charles. I'm sorry. I could tell Robert's a little dark there in his picture.
Yeah.
But that's it's sort of the day the Earth stood still scenario. Maybe I don't know.
I think Robert wanted to ask you something.
I sure do love that one.
There was that shocking case in Bilokovich in the Ukraine as well. I think it was 1982, where the missiles actually went into the launch sequence. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah, but they turned off though. I think that we're being warned. I mean, there's stories that go that are from Russia as well, and probably in China, but they haven't told us. But I'm guessing that anybody that has nukes, if you want to see a UFO, hang out by a nuclear missile base, because that's what they're interested in. And I think that if they wanted us to destroy ourselves, they probably would have encouraged us to, but it seems like they're always turning them off for the most part, or they're scaring us and then turning them off. It seems like maybe like the adult in the room trying to teach the children to not play with matches or something.
It's pity they didn't intervene in the Second World War and the First World War to stop it.
Maybe they were.
Maybe they were, and I don't know that and I don't think that we were going to destroy the planet in the Second World War. Once we came up with nuclear weapons, it certainly changed the whole scenario. Nuclear weapons,
I think that's the trigger.
May mess up. Yeah, I think that it may mess with other dimensions.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
When it comes to the point where somebody could push the button and the world would end, I think that caused a lot more peace.
Well, it might be the fact that the nuclear detonation actually created the membrane that connected the two universes together in the first place.
Could be, Paul. This is a real possibility. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of different, some say Aleister Crowley did that, he met with a couple of guys in Pasadena, and the entity that appeared to them looks a lot like a tall gray with black eyes. So who knows? I don't know. That kind of happened though pretty close to Hiroshima and Nagasaki as well. So it seems like things just kind of ramped up at that point. When we hit the space age, space visited us.
Yeah. I think Susan.
And here we are. It's still happening.
So what's Susan saying here? Well, Gordon Cooper said he witnessed his scientist friend dematerialize and remilitarize as a dog. I haven't heard that.
And
the guy,
I haven't heard that one.
Cooper say anything like that, you know.
Has she got the wrong person?
I'd love
maybe
to hear that story.
I think you got the wrong person too. Yeah.
Said he could build a time machine.
Cooper saw a flying saucer.
Yeah.
He saw a flying saucer land.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He saw a couple actually. He saw some in space that they said wasn't space junk. Wasn't on their map of space objects anyway. On an interview that we just played recently, and also he saw that footage that was recorded at White Sands, as you say, and they took it away, and we never got to see it again.
Was that for space, you know?
Oh, was it? Was it Edwards? Okay, yeah, I think it might have been, yeah.
Yeah, and
I've been at
sighting. He had the sighting as test pilot in Germany as well.
Yeah, I think the time machine one is that whack job that talked about the suitcase and all that, wasn't it? What was his name? If you told me his name, I would go, "Yep, that's it." But I just can't think of his name.
Who was it?
Talking about Canada, are you?
We're talking about Susan's comment about Cooper. I think she's mixing up the name here with that other crackpot that claimed to be from the future with a suitcase.
Right.
William Cooper, Bill Cooper.
Oh yeah, it's Bill Cooper as well, isn't he? Yeah.
That's who she's talking about.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah.
That
Gordon Cooper. Gordon Cooper knew. I mean, I think that he was in the inner circle. He knew.
Yeah, he was.
He
definitely was.
Yeah. They weren't as careful with that as they are now. I mean, now it's all compartmentalized, and I don't think anybody has the full story now. They spread it around, but when this stuff was first going on, you know, from like the 1940s on. It took a lot of people by surprise, and it truly was a national security threat. Still is, you know.
Yeah,
but back then they didn't really know what to do with it, and they didn't know where it was coming from. They didn't know if it was an enemy, and if it was an enemy, where the enemy was from. And so they were poking into every little thing, you know. They were trying to figure it out, is what I think. And you know, I think that's kind of what my mom was involved with, you know, when she was working over at Hughes Aircraft. But
you got a picture of your mum
here? She knew some stuff. Yeah, that's my mom.
Where's your mum? Where's she?
There's somewhere.
There she goes.
That's a later picture. That's like 1999. That was before she passed away. But she worked as a headhunter for Lockheed and Northrop and various. You know, she was more or less working for the industrial military complex that we've been warned about. You know, that was her thing. And she, you know, she got into that back in the 1950s when she worked for Howard Hughes. And she was who told me when I was a child that UFOs were real. She said, "Oh, it's a real thing, son." She said, the government knows, and they're not going to tell anybody because it would ruin world religions. It would, you know, they're not going to tell anybody. And she wouldn't tell me very much either. She said, you know, it's realer than you will ever know.
Yeah,
is kind of her final word on it. And that's really why I eventually became a UFO investigator, because I wanted to know. It's sort of like, well, no, I think I can know, Mom.
Yes.
and if anybody out there listening, and I say this often, you know, when I do these shows, and I've had people come forward with other stories that are similar and with their relatives. If you know anything about Hughes Aircraft, or you know about an underground base that was about a mile under the desert that was there back in the 1950s, I would love to know about it. You know, you can find me on Facebook is a good way to find me. I'm Earl Grey on Facebook. And I would love to hear your story if you have, you know, a grandparent or a parent.
There's got to be thousands out there, right? There's got to be thousands of people out there.
They're out there. My mom, you know, she was very careful with her security clearances. I know that she had them. Other people know that she had them. It's a fact that she worked as a headhunter for aerospace in her, you know, the last couple of decades in her life. But the interesting stories were back when she worked for Hughes Aircraft, and she was working in an underground base.
Yeah.
And according to my mom, the government knows that we're not alone, and they've known a long time. And I would love to hear your stories out there. You can contact Paul, and he'll let me know, or contact, just go straight to me. I would love to hear it, because I'm trying to put the pieces together.
If we can get you back on Discord, they can just join our Discord link in the About tab, and they can find you there to message you.
Yes.
There's another way of doing
it. That's good. That works.
Yeah. But also, just remember that my dad only just came out last year saying he's been in an underground base and it was like a city under there. And now, these military types don't often come out with stuff like that. But he was in Germany and he said it went at least down 7 stories. And there was like electric golf carts down there, just like you explained. Maybe not as elaborate as your one. Yeah, so...
Don't they say there's one in Antarctica or Pole somewhere?
Sorry, you broke up.
Don't they say that there's one up in Antarctica or Pole somewhere where they go deep underground?
I don't know about it. If they probably do. I mean,
I think James Fox went there.
We know there's underground bases.
No, it's a big mountain. What's it called now? Not Mount Adams, but there's another one up in Alaska.
Seems to be a lot of people going up there, isn't there? Like Prince William and others have gone up there. I think
I'm just trying to figure out the name of it. If you remember what the name of that mountain was called.
Underneath there, but people have said that there's a city underneath.
Yeah.
My mom said that there was a little city under the desert, and this was back like 1955, 56.
Yeah.
She said that the last time she was there, she was pregnant with me.
Right.
And it was 1958. And then when I was born, my mom tried to become a housewife, and she got bored, and she wanted more money. So she got back into she worked as a headhunter, but that was the story she told me when I was very, very young. I was like 5 years old, and I think what she told me was, she said, I didn't think you would remember, Earl. I thought it was safe to tell you that she hadn't told anybody. And I think that she told my dad, and my dad would laugh when she would tell her story. He would laugh uncomfortably, because he was sort of a fundamentalist Christian, and he didn't want to hear it. It went against his view of the universe. But my mom, to her dying day, she became, when she was on her deathbed, she became a little more forthcoming. At least she told me. She said, I did what I did for my country. I was a patriot. I felt like my mom had been irradiated because she had multiple cancers when she died.
More than likely, yeah.
And they weren't metastatic. They were just sort of appearing all over her body, like she'd been irradiated by something. And I wanted her to lawyer up and go after the government. I was angry about it. I loved my mom, but she said that what she did for her country, and that she felt like she was a patriot, just like a soldier would go to war, and you knew that you were risking your life. That was how she felt.
Yes.
And that she would never sue her government, that she loved her country. That was what my mom said. And she's a patriot. I'm so proud of my mom, and whatever she did, at least she believed that it was for good causes. And
well, she never saw any dead aliens or UFOs, but
she never said anything like that. She just knew that she'd been told.
She's been told by Von Braun,
right?
Von Braun on the underground base, wasn't it? The German scientist.
She never said that she met. She didn't say that she knew Werner von Braun from. She didn't mention him in context of. She was very careful about that. If she would talk about the underground base, she wouldn't talk about aliens. If she talked about aliens, she wouldn't talk about von Braun. She would talk about. She would talk about one thing, and then you wouldn't hear anything for a couple of years.
So she reckons the universe is full of aliens. different species?
She said that Star Wars is not far-fetched. She said Star Wars.
Yeah.
When I took her to see Star Wars the second day it was in the theaters, right? She had to go to a doctor in Santa Monica, and I went with her. And she had to get checked up for cancer all the time. So, but she was okay, and I was reading Time magazine, and I saw the article about Star Wars. It was a new movie; it had just come out. And it was playing down the block from where we were. So I said, "Hey, Mom, let's go see this. This looks fun." And so we went to see a movie. We went to see Star Wars, and she got talkative. The curtains, I'll never forget it. The curtains were closing, and she became voluble, and she started talking about, Earl, this is not far-fetched. There are all the spaceships and the different races of aliens and all that. That's real. She said, it's realer than you will ever know. She said, it's realer than you'll ever know. And
so she must have been showing something in the underground base then, a presentation or something.
Yeah. I imagine so. I mean, you hear people talk about, that they had certain movies where they showed the Roswell wreckage and bodies and stuff. And that's probably true. But my mom did know, and that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Perhaps we should have a look at some of these cases that you've been working on now, just to change subjects. I know we can talk about all this stuff forever because we're really interested in it. Let me just
I'm slow drinking a beer here, you guys. I'm really enjoying it, though.
That's all right, as long as you don't get too drunk.
It's been one beer. No, it's been one beer for two hours.
As long as you don't have 3 hours. As long as you don't have 3 hours of missing time, we'll be great.
No, there's no missing time. But what would you like to talk about? Why don't we talk? Let's talk about the triangle.
Well, I got this one up. Maybe.
Yeah, you've got it up.
Got it up. Okay.
It's already up.
Oh, yeah,
that
cool.
was a cool case. That was one of my first MUFON cases, and I actually have to go back and I have to change my original disposition on that case because I gave that case a insufficient evidence when I had it. My boss at MUFON is Jeff Krause. He's very, very. He wants evidence. If I want a unknown and I believe that something really was a UFO, I got to prove it. And at that point, they're just. I had the one brother that was talking with me. The other brother said that it was true, but he wouldn't talk on the phone. He felt uncomfortable about it. But since then, I've spoken with the mom, and the other brother has been talking more about it. This happened back in 1963. It was in around Venice, California area, Venice, Santa Monica area. And they were having a family barbecue. The two brothers were playing. They were playing with squirt guns, and there was one squirt gun, and they were wrestling, trying to get the squirt gun. It was like normal kid stuff, right? And while they're wrestling on the ground, they see this shadow, and they look up, and this triangle is flying over them. Now, it wasn't a sleek-looking black triangle. It wasn't this guy. Okay, this is your proverbial TR3B type triangle there, right?
Yeah.
It was blockier looking. So, but anyway, they watched this. It was floating silently. Most of the family, they were just doing the barbecue. They weren't paying attention. People were drinking and stuff. But the two brothers saw this. And the guy, he drew the illustration about it. He said that, that he's thought about this for all these years, that he just can't get away from it. That there was a window on the side, and that there were people behind the window. He wasn't sure if they were people or if they were, if they were aliens. He said he would like to think they were aliens. And I don't know if they were, But now the mom has gone on record. She's in her 80s, And the mom has gone on record and has said that that this actually did happen, that she saw it as well. She's been taught, they sort of have an open dialogue between the three of them now, between the two brothers and the mom, that they saw this thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was an early version of the TR-3B. If that's our craft, maybe that was what they saw, or maybe it was ET. I don't know. I don't have security clearances. But anyway, that's maybe my first favorite case. That one is stuck with me, and I will look at the illustration that the witness made sometimes.
Do you think that was genuine then?
Oh yeah, no, it was a genuine. There were three witnesses to it. I've interviewed the two brothers, and the mom I've talked with on via email. I haven't interviewed her yet, but I will. But their story is exact. They're not into UFOs, and that's always when you meet somebody who's into UFOs, sometimes there's a reason that they're into them, right? And so you can't discount those cases, right? If they ask if they can get a book deal or if you can get them on TV, then you have to question, right?
Yeah.
But this was none of that. I mean, these guys had no reason. The one brother didn't want to talk with me at first because he was afraid that people would think he was crazy.
That's what I was just going to say. They think that you're a crackpot. If you say that you've seen UFOs, and you're a nutcase, you are.
Yeah,
that's the sort of attitude you get.
I think it's changing though. I think in the last few years, everyone's getting a different thinking about it all now, especially with credible pilots coming forward now. So if that's one thing that TTSA has done correctly, is they've brought the right focus on UFOs.
Yeah,
and that's what you got to say.
Each other.
you might
agree with everything.
Yeah.
But we need each other. We need peer review, right? We do. We need peer review. So TTSA is peer review for MUFON and the other organizations. This is the way I see it. I don't agree with everything. I don't think that the idea of UFOs being a threat assessment situation.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, but that's the military. They're doing their job, right? We pay the military to look for threats, and they're not like rainbows and unicorns, So
shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah, but we don't want to start an interstellar war, right?
No,
that's not a good thing.
Well, maybe that's why they haven't come forward anyway, really, to make proper contact, because they're a fear of war.
Well, humans are primitives. I think. I don't think that we've reached that level. You hear from case to case that people will say that we need to raise our vibration, and the Dr. George Medich, who I work for in the ERT, is always asking. It's like, what does that mean? Raise your vibration. And New Age people will have an idea of what it is, but different. What my understanding is that different different universes, different levels, that things vibrate and move faster, that they're more compact and realer is I think what it comes down to. Here, we were talking earlier, Paul, about that dark matter and space is not empty, but it's almost empty. I mean, and we're mostly vacuum ourselves. The atoms that we're constructed of are mostly vacuum. It's just like a couple of a revolving particle around a central particle, and then there's vacuum between. So perhaps there's something that we haven't learned to do yet. But war seems to be the opposite of what they want. And I think that getting along with each other and being better humans and being kinder to each other is maybe. I know that war is certainly one of the reasons why we haven't had aliens land in Central Park or wherever they would land. There's a reason for. I don't think they're going to land in the White House yard. I don't think they're going to land it in Parliament. I don't think they want to.
Although there was that 1952 flyover though, that was sending a signal down to the government there, I think.
But that wasn't that was like that was a warning. I think that was a shot over the bow. And I'm sure that they knew what they were doing. That was not an accident.
No.
Do you think that was because of what was going on with the nuclears and stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah,
yes, I think so.
Exactly
we're coming close to the line of no
we
return.
were ready to destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, but maybe it destroys them. Like if it's emitting energy into their dimension, it's killing people in their dimension as well. You see. Because we're overlapped in places,
well, like you say about the vibrations, vibrations could go a long way out into space.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There might be a shock wave, or that reaches them and harms them. And people mentioned that before too.
There's nothing in space, is there, to stop a shockwave? Really, is there?
No.
It's just keep going infinitely, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was one of Oppenheimer. Oh, let's see if I can remember the quote. He said, "Beware the critical mass." It was one of the conversations between Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein, because they didn't know if you blew up an atomic bomb, there was nothing that we didn't know. It might have kept on exploding.
Know when that reaction was going to end.
Yeah. We couldn't destroy the universe. Is what that was actually a possibility. They didn't know. It was called the critical mass, and beware the critical mass. And they were well aware of that, and they decided that it was worth the risk. But anyway, maybe there is some kind of a critical mass that we should be aware, beware of now.
So if it was like a ball, like the Earth, and like it just exploded, it'd just go cover the whole universe. It wouldn't just go in one direction, so it's not going to miss them, is it? In whichever direction it goes, it's going to hit them somewhere in space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Yet they haven't destroyed us. That would be an easy way to take care of the problem. If you have bugs in the house, you call the exterminator. They haven't done that. Here we are.
Killer.
Yeah, all these years later, we're sitting here talking about this stuff. So I don't think we're dealing with something malevolent. I think that they want us to, figure our stuff out.
Yeah, they want to study us and maybe even take some resources around our solar system back with them, whatever.
Probably we do that, right?
Yeah.
But we usually want, No, I mean, we've had some nefarious reasons, for, Cortez meeting the American Indians was not a good thing, right? Cortez going to Mexico is not a good thing.
No.
But it seems like these guys, so far, at least as far as we know, they haven't drained our resources. There may be some resource we don't know about that they've taken, but as far as we can see, they haven't really harmed us. So I think that we're dealing with benevolence, or at least the benevolence out there have the greater hand in things. Let's just hope it keeps going that way, So next case, Paul, what would you?
Next one. What we got coming up? We must. This is. Do we talk about this one, or do we come back to that one?
Case?
Do we go to another triangle one?
That, or we could.
We'll come back to it.
We can talk about that. Well,
okay, we got
the same one. We talked about the triangle. That's a good case right there. If you go back just a little bit, you see, I love these cases.
This one,
so I don't even have to look them up. That's the same one. That's the reptilian case. And I can't give you the person's name because it's anonymous. This is a situation where this child was born a hermaphrodite with both sexes.
Right.
She is a she.
Right.
is how she classifies herself. But she was born with both sexes, and she was born with multiple birth defects. Her father was a Navy SEAL, and he was apparently quite connected. And according to her, she believes that that the father was that they told him that they had a possibility of fixing her, at least giving her a better life than she was going to have, which looked very, very dismal.
Right.
And so apparently her father said yes. She has memories from the earliest days of her childhood of reptilian creatures that treated her like family. Now, it's very interesting because most, I don't get a whole lot of reptilian cases, and they're usually very negative. People are usually scared, and they don't treat humans very well all the time. But in her case, they treated her like family. They were the kindest people to her. Their technology was not. It wasn't years and years ahead of our own. It was limited, according to her. So they were only able to help her to a certain extent. But she's still alive today. She's in her 30s, I think, in her 30s, late 30s, I think. She still has health problems, but the picture that you're showing is that she went camping with her family, and she felt compelled to leave their main campsite. She was sitting on this hill, and she watched a ship come down. She watched a cigar-shaped ship that came down to where she could see it was line of sight to her. There was a valley that was beneath the mountain that they were camping at. And she watched a beam of light exit from the ship, and she could see this being that was standing in the beam of light. She was, I believe she was 12 or 13 years old when this happened. She was a young girl still. And she watched the beam go to the ground, and this reptilian looking creature was looking around for something, like there was something that was lost. That is a picture that she drew of the creature, which is interesting because Phil and Ronnie Kinsella and Phil, they're friends of mine, and their books are quite popular in the UK. But Ronnie, his illustrations, he's an amazing artist, and they look a lot like the illustration that she made. And I know that Philip had contact with reptilians. It wasn't a good experience for him because he was, fully human. But what the witness believed was that because she was hermaphrodite, lizards are hermaphrodite. They can change sex at will. If there's two lizards and they're both males, one will become female, and that way they can keep the line going. So she believed that because the way that she was born, which was, technically a birth defect for her, made her acceptable to these aliens. That and she continues to have contact with them. It's not often, but it's almost like she'll have checkups, where they take her and they help her. Now she was sick and almost dying recently, and she believed that she had contact with them again, and mysteriously she suddenly was all better. I was speaking with her, a few months ago, and I thought that she was going to die. I was telling, acquaintances of ours, oh, you should probably, get a hold of so and so because I don't know that she's going to make it. And she's suddenly fine again. So it seems like they check up on her. But they aren't that advanced, is what her belief is. That she thinks that their science is limited. That there may be, my feelings are, and I don't know that, just my personal opinion is that perhaps there may be, 500, 600, 700 years ahead of us, maybe. But it's an interesting case. It's ongoing. I mean, the
is there any evidence?
Who had
any evidence like footprints? Is there any evidence to back up this case?
She has. I should have sent you pictures of her eyes, because she has eyes that are diamond shaped like a lizard.
Right.
That's definitely a bit of evidence.
Right.
And they'll change from like keyhole shaped to diamond shaped, depending on how the light is. The other evidence that I have in the case is just that I personally know she almost died, that they were putting her into hospice, and now she's fine, after having a checkup from these guys. So it's ongoing. I keep in touch with this person. Yeah. And so that's the one, one of my favorite cases, actually. It was an ERT case for me. I wasn't the field investigator on the case. That was Dev Rugby from Northern California, MUFON.
So these
are a wonderful field investigator.
So where did these come from? Obviously from space, not underground, right? Or what?
She told me that there's two different kinds of reptilians. That there are some that there are some that came from here, that were dinosaurs that were uplifted by the reptilians. So there's I think that those are the ones that she's dealing with, for the most part, that do live underground on Earth. But there are the more advanced ones that are from the cosmos, and it gets strange, and it's like for myself, it's just like yeah. Because it's just a very, very strange case.
It almost sounds like the Time Machine, the 1966 one, where they live underground.
Yeah.
And they look like this. Yeah. They look like this in the face, don't they, in that movie?
Yeah.
Where humans evolve.
There's definitely, Joseph Campbell says that we sort of have this inner knowledge within ourselves. And so perhaps that's where those stories come from, that there's a reality behind them. And I'm happy that I was thrilled to be an ERT person, because with ERT, it's experienced research team. We're more like, the way that we act is we're sort of like social workers for people, for abductees or visitees. A lot of people, when it's not negative, they don't want to be called an abductee. They love to see their entities. So we usually just call them as experiencers. But with that case, I can't help being a field investigator. I can't help looking for evidence or trying to, or trying to debunk stuff. It's just something that's inert in me, and or not inert, but is always going on with me. But I do believe that I found evidence, especially things like the shape of her eyes, the consistency of her story. Her mom is very, very involved in her life, but it's a frustrating life, because she'll be well, and then it goes bad again, and then she'll have another visit, and things start going good again. Kathleen Marden felt like it was a really, really good and important case, but Kathleen was, she wanted me to, she wanted me to poke at it a little bit. I mean, you don't want to, but this person wasn't looking for books or TV or anything like that. I sort of had to ask her if it was okay to tell her story to you, because it's her personal story. She's not in it for any personal gain. So,
right.
Anyway, that's
probably one of the far out tells, though. It's probably one of the far out ones, because it's not normal like the Greys. This is way out there.
No, I didn't know if I even believed in the reptilians before this case. It changed my mind about it. It changed my mind about it. It opened my mind to it. And it's ongoing, so we can talk more about it, because I'm sure there'll be more.
There's going to be a lot of skeptics on this one, though. A lot of skeptics and reptilians versus other other sightings where there's more people repeating the same thing. But yeah, it'd be good if they had like DNA, but DNA is not all for all either, because we got share 50% of our DNA with banana, for God's sake. That's
well, here's something interesting. She had her DNA checked out recently, and it's weird. And
right.
it was anomalous. They weren't able to explain why her DNA was the way it was.
Right.
And this is a very recent happening that the geneticist that she had, that they went in and they checked her DNA and they could not figure it out. So there's something strange with her DNA. She believes that it was enhanced with reptilian DNA. She doesn't believe she was born a reptilian, and she wasn't a full, like a hybrid, like a reptilian came down and had sexual congress with somebody.
Are you able to show the eyes there and just hold it up to the screen at all, or is that a wee bit complicated for you?
Let me see. Sure. Hold on one second.
You might have to flick back to the YouTube if you want to look at something. Yes.
Well, I think I can just. I'll just.
I can go to full. Well, we don't want to break your.
I'll send. You know what? I'll send it to you. I'm probably gonna. I'm gonna go for.
Well, you do that. You send it. You save it on Facebook, and I'll grab it from there.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to send it to you in Messenger. That's what I'm going to do right now. Right, I was planning tonight. Lisa and I are going on a trip tomorrow, so I don't want to go too much later. I was planning on going until about midnight with you guys. But what I'll do, Paul, is I'll send the picture of her eyes to you, and you can make.
Well, I've got it open.
What you would like,
as long as it doesn't break your identity on the show.
No, I won't send you a picture of her face. It's just the eye. Hold on.
I'll see if something pops up.
Okay, I've got it.
I've got the other screen open, so I'll save it and I'll bring it across.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Was it not beat?
We have dead air. You guys need to talk. But here we go.
Yeah, Robert was saying. Robert is trying to talk now if you want to.
Oh yeah, sugar man. I was just saying that I think all abduction cases are bizarre.
Right, I got.
And it's kind of infuriating in a way, because there's just no way of any proof positive. But at the same time, I'm not doubting that this is happening to people.
Yeah.
That everyone seems to be a variation of the same thing.
There's a psychological thing that goes on. I just sent those to you in Messenger, Paul. So you have pictures of her eyes.
Give me a second for it. Yep.
With UFO sightings, I've sort of changed the way that I feel about them. I don't think that aliens or interdimensionals are coming here and doing air shows for us for giggles, right? Mm-hmm. That when somebody sees a UFO, I think that there's a reason for that. I think that when you see a UFO, that it's actually a contact experience, that something is being opened up in your mind, that they're changing humanity person by person by contact this way. It seems like there's an initiation, which can be your room flooding with light, or perhaps you'll see an anomalous craft somewhere. Most people
coming to me then sometime.
Most people don't just see a UFO and then it's over. People, it seems like an ongoing thing. It seems like
random thing. Yeah, a random thing.
And if we could, that's what.
If we could
project, changing us.
Yeah, if we could predict when they're going to show up, we'd be able to collect better evidence, right? Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, prove to me that you're visited by aliens." I can't, because they got total control of you. You can't move. You can't do anything.
We've talked about this. Paul and I, we've talked. Well, maybe put a camera in a Faraday cage, and we can get, But the thing is that you can't fool these guys, because their technology is just way ahead of ours. And I think that when people see a UFO, that there's a reason for it. That it's just not a random sighting. And I've seen, after I had my contact experience, I saw a couple of UFOs, and I hadn't seen one before. But I never grabbed my phone. I felt like I wasn't supposed to grab my phone. It was almost like I was being scolded by this huge thing. They're in control, and I think that if there's a video or like the FLIR videos that the pilots of the Nimitz got, there was a reason for it. That was a bit of disclosure that was given to us. So you can see the diamond shape. It's not a normal round pupil, and her pupil actually changes. It's very strange. Changes with day to day and with the way the light is.
So you couldn't have contacts and that may be doing that at all?
No, it's not a contact lens. That's not a contact lens. That's her eye. And there's birth defects where eyes are strange, but just there's so many different things with her. You sometimes you just have to gather the evidence and you have to compound it. And if there's more evidence, if you're making excuses for the person's story to not be true, then that's not scientific either, right? If you're making excuses to make the person's story true, that's not scientific, but it works the opposite way too. And with her, there's so many things that all come together that I do believe that this is a valid UFO case, a contact case, or at least it's something that we do not understand. Could it be the military or something? Maybe. I've sometimes wondered if my experience was instigated by the military. Maybe they're trying to scare me off. We know that MK Ultra stuff was going on back when, and I'm sure it hasn't ended now. I've only had my wife and I only had that 1 week of experiences, and then it stopped, which is unusual. So, but I don't know. It's unknown for me.
Well, they weren't interested in her though. Which is interesting.
All I can do is just gather evidence, gather these personal stories that people have, and try to make sense of it.
Has anybody happened to any other MUFON investigators?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no, it's very, very common. If you're, it seems like if you disturb the universe, it'll come back and it'll disturb you. Yeah. It's very, very common. First of all, it's an unusual hobby, isn't it? Why do we have this interest?
Like I said before, but everybody treats you like a nutcase, so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, people will do that. I had somebody do that yesterday. I put up. Paul could go to that other UFO case if you want with a V-shaped craft, because I'd sort of like to end on that one.
Was it that one
with no? It's the one with the. I think I sent it to you. If I didn't, I'll do it now. Hold on.
I got this one here, which I'm not too sure. It looks like a.
That's a good one, but that's not the one I was talking about. But we could talk about that.
I got this one with the house.
That's the one we talked about. That was a triangular craft that was in Venice. Yeah, that was the one that was the two brothers fighting over the squirt.
So that's just another drawing, right? I thought it was another case.
Hold on a second. I maybe hadn't sent it to you.
These are the ones you sent me.
All right. Well, let's talk about the one with it was like a flying saucer, but it had grooves around it, almost like the rings of Saturn. It was very strange.
This one.
That one happened in Simi. Yeah, that happened in Simi Valley, California. Again, I'm not going to mention the witness's name or give you any identifying things about the witness, because I'm a nurse, and with nursing we have to think about HIPAA law stuff, and I treat my UFO cases the same way. But this was a case where she was a young girl. She lived in the town next to the town that I was growing up in. She woke up in the middle of the night because she heard this strange buzzing sound that was outdoors. She had, I believe, 4 sisters. They all shared one large room, and her sisters were all asleep. But she got up and she ran to the window, and she saw this black object. It was about 20 feet across. She said that it was disc-shaped, that it didn't have windows or anything like that, but that it had grooves around itself, almost like an LP record it had. She watched this thing in her backyard. It floated there, making this buzzing sound. And then she watched it go in between her house and the neighbor's house. And then the craft just if it took off or if it went down the street, she didn't know because she was looking out her window. She couldn't tell. But she was a young girl. Again, somebody who was not into UFOs. I think that she might have seen, like, I'm not sure exactly even how she found out about MUFON, but you have certain cases where people will see stuff repeatedly, and that does happen, and you can't write those off. I used to write them off. I know better than doing that now. If somebody sees what's a balloon or something like that over and over again, then they're probably watching too much Ancient Aliens. But I do believe that sort of like the third eye is sometimes open for the person, and they have multiple contact experiences.
Ooh, what was that noise?
Is it buzzing? You should look out the window because maybe you've got a.
I think someone knocked their microphone. Yep, carry on.
But this case, there wasn't more to it than just that sighting, but it stuck with her all these years. And I interviewed her multiple times, and I felt like it was a very valid case. It has that feeling to it.
Yeah.
I've had other cases. I had one woman that saw a craft that looked like a computer mouse, but it was hovering over the trees, in her backyard. Went across the street, hovering over the neighbor's trees, and there's something about you can tell the tone in people's voices when they're recounting a memory rather than making something up, or telling you some tall tale. And I took this woman's story so seriously because she was just very, very, she was scared to tell her story. First of all, she was scared of ridicule. And she said that her family had ridiculed her over the story.
Really?
But people will do that. But I believe that she saw this thing, and I do think that was for her, that she saw that, and it changed the way that she looks at the universe.
Yes.
The universe is much larger for her.
It's this talking to somebody who believes in what they're saying, I think, as well. Rather than talking to somebody who's just got a negative attitude towards you because of what you saw.
That's my favorite thing about what I do. And as a field investigator, I do have to, Lord knows I get some intentional hoaxes. I get CGI, artists that want to fool MUFON and they can put that on their resume. I fooled MUFON, I caught one of them, that is this just highly produced video with her daughter dancing by the window, and then this, it's like, oh God. And I found her. She had an online resume that said CGI realer than real life, and now she was looking to bolster her online portfolio, I guess, by saying that she'd fooled MUFON. So I have to be very careful, and God knows we don't want to be, we don't want to be third phase of whatever, right? And we won't mention all these, frauds that are out there.
But they're ruining it for everybody, though, aren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, the real cases, you sort of, after a while, you begin to notice certain markers about them and certain things. And I keep stuff from the public. From case to case, I learned certain things about, attributes about UFOs, what they look like when they take off, what happens before they take off, or if they're hovering. If there's, I don't share those details when I do shows, when I talk with other people. Those are because you have to have markers with things, and you begin to notice things that in common from case to case that aren't out there, that you don't hear in the public, conversation.
Yeah.
And I won't tell you guys what those are. I think I may have given one to Paul at one point, perhaps.
Yeah, but then you get the copycats then, wouldn't you? Trying to produce these things, wouldn't you?
Yes.
I keep a lot of stuff to myself. The ERT, we keep a lot of stuff to ourselves. And that way we can look at a case and we just look at the markers and chalk them off. And, you got like 10, 15 markers and that are similar to other abduction cases.
Well, there'll be odor, there'll be skin types, there'll be
I can't tell you.
I just know because I've experienced some of it myself. But since I started this field, I thought all abductions were just loonies, and now in 4 years I've grown out of that, and I know it's definitely a real thing that's happening. And there may be some that have mental problems, but I think the majority of them are definitely having something real happen to them.
Most of my witnesses are highly intelligent people. I mean, the new case that I have, it was a mom and her son saw a V-shaped craft that was hovering over a school, and the closer they got to it, they started experiencing the Oz effect, where time slowed down, sound became muffled, and they couldn't tell if it were minutes or hours. And she was driving. Somehow or another, she kept control of the car. But this thing tipped over, and it showed its lights to them. And when they looked at the lights, that's when the Oz effect started happening. Before that, she's just like, "What the hell is that?" But it tipped over, and it showed these lights to her. And I think that our visitors use light somehow. That it isn't photonic light that we know it as. That it's something else that they have.
Outside the beam, you can't see it, but inside the beam, you can. Yeah, it's like if you're looking on the outside, you won't see a UFO there, but if you're inside the beam, you'll see the UFO and the light. It's quite interesting.
I know that people will see a UFO, and the person next to them won't see it.
Yeah,
I think that it's a personal experience. It's meant for that person. But she and her son, they had this experience. It was about 3 years ago, and it was almost like they had this nonverbal agreement between the two of them when they drove away after having this close encounter. It was like 50 feet away from them. They didn't say a word. They got home, and finally the mom said, "Did you see that?" And he said, "Hell yeah, I saw it. I saw it." The kid was like freaked out. He's in his 20s, intelligent kid. I talked with him a few times. The mom is a clinical psychologist, and the dad is a medical doctor. And this happened out Orange County area here in Los Angeles. Over the next 3 years, they began having abduction situations where the mom would be taken, the dad would be paralyzed. They would bring her back, and she would have symmetrical marks on the back of her neck. Sometimes they would be bleeding and stuff. Clothes would be changed around. I mean, it's the proverbial like a Bud Hopkins case. It's crazy, But it's ongoing. It's still it's an ongoing case. I've closed it as an unknown, but I talk. I keep in touch. I'll talk with them every few weeks to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's my newest case. My newest unknown. And you have to remember, I mean, as far as unknowns go, I've got maybe 55 of them max at this point, maybe 60. Out of 600 cases, so we're sort of.
And how many years
right
is that?
in 6 years. So we're sort of in that
6 years.
thing. Yeah.
Do you always keep in touch with those ones that you think were genuine? And do you?
I for some people, they will get a hold of me. Yeah. But if it's a contact experience or an abduction or visitation, heck yeah, I feel like that's that I need to morally. I need to keep in touch with them.
You thinking yourself, well, I'm waiting now for the next contact with them now.
This is funny. One guy that I know, his case I've talked about on Paul's show before. He's a Homeland Security agent. And he had a period of time where he stopped being visited. And for him, it was traumatic. When he was a kid and it started up, that was traumatic because he didn't know it was happening. But he eventually wound up giving his beings names and he expected them. It was like people he knew. And they stopped visiting him for some reason.
Almost become like family or friends or something.
Yeah. And he was wondering what was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he got a hold of me and said, "Oh, they're back. They're back." He was excited about it, which was kind of funny because they were the same creatures that horrified him. His parents thought that he had night terrors. They couldn't understand what was going on. But no, I keep in touch with these guys. I feel like it's my, that I should. And some people don't want you to keep in touch with them. They sort of want to. They'll get a hold of me if something's going on or things change. I hear from people, out of the blue from 5 years ago sometimes, and some, don't tell. But sometimes I'll have to look their case up. It's like, oh yeah, it was that guy. But. Yeah, I mean, I have people from all walks of life, all races. I had a black gospel preacher who he and his sister were hovered over. They used to sleep on top of their tenement house when they were kids, and they were hovered over by a classic flying saucer. And the guy was being abducted up until, and it was a very inconvenient thing because the people in his church wanted him to say it was the devil, and he didn't believe that it was the devil.
No.
All different religions, all races, people are being visited, they're being taken, and they're having contact with our visitors, whether they're interstellar, interdimensional, or both. I couldn't tell you, but they have similarities and markers in common, and it definitely it makes my life very rich and full of wonder.
Yeah.
What's this picture here? That one looks like it's got an alien head on the side there. Or is that just a optical illusion?
That was just me trying to do a fun Facebook profile picture, Paul.
Yeah, but it looks like it's got an alien head here though. Look.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't see that, but okay.
Alien, look.
Oh, you're right. Okay. All right.
That was a mistake. Looks like it's part of your beard that's come down here, and part of your hairline has made an alien picture. And you didn't see that.
I didn't see that. It looks sort of like one of the gremlins from Terry Gilliam's movie Brazil or something. I don't know. Anyway. Well, you guys, I'm almost ready to call it a night here. At least
it's been great.
Our anniversary trip tomorrow. So but that was 2 hours exactly is what I kind of planned on doing.
Oh, that's nothing.
Anything else you want to ask?
Me and Charles have done a 6 hour last week, didn't we? Or was it the week before now?
About 6.25 hours.
We were really debunking then. We got them all sorted in the end, though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I never talk about debunks when I come on. I want to talk about the good stuff, Because I mean, for every good case, there's there's a good 10 that were horrible. I mean, drones.
That's what we do on their channel, though. We break up one night for video analysis and learning and research, and we're doing another episode with Robert that does UFO cases, and he does his own thing there. And we get occasionally people on like yourself if they want to come on. And we also get regular people on that want to talk about their UFO experiences as well. We've had about 5 people now. We've had Shelley and
Shelley is interesting. You had me talk with her, and I thought that she was that was a valid abduction case. She had,
you could see the fear in their eyes when she was telling the story. Right?
Oh yeah,
so, yeah.
No, there wasn't somebody who was. You don't see her on television,
right.
and that's always. Yeah. And that's not to say, people, just because somebody's on television doesn't mean it's a fake. I mean, people will. I've been on television, but if that's what the first thing they start talking about, you recognize that real quick with people.
Yeah, I don't know if you listened. Don't know if you listened to Corey from Australia's story, but I gave you the link. He was from military, and he reckons they gave him all sorts of crazy injections. But one night he had aliens come to him, and they took him to their ship, and they were putting their hands inside him, doing all crazy stuff, and it was hurting him. And it was like a scary story. And
military, I think that there's such a thing as MyLabs. I used to not think there was such a thing as MyLabs, but I've changed my mind on that.
Yeah,
but I think that it's MK Ultra is a real thing, and I think that carries on to today, even though they say that it's not.
Yeah,
and they want to know how they can get information out of people, and if you make them think that they've been abducted, and that's a good way to get it.
Yeah, that's my feeling when he was telling the story with all these injections. Maybe they were trying to program him to see what it would do to him. But he claimed to see a light out in the bay there where he lived on the coast. And then later that night, they come to get him. And they weren't normal aliens. They weren't normal alien greys either. It's quite an interesting story. It's up on my channel if you want to go and listen to it.
Sure. I had one recently that I closed that I think was just full on sleep paralysis. I mean, because the entity was 8 feet tall, and he looked like the Jolly Green Giant.
Right.
This doesn't remind me of any. This doesn't have any markers in common with anything.
No.
And he woke up from a dream, and he couldn't move, and then he saw this entity.
Yeah.
And it was sleep paralysis, which is a thing. I mean, there is sleep paralysis.
Do you think that these cattle mutilations? Do you think them are alien?
That's an interesting one. I don't know. I haven't made my mind up about it. I think that perhaps, somebody probably wants to know what radiation levels are like in certain areas, is my guess, and that's one way to find out. And so that sounds more military than not.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, some of those stories are pretty weird.
Horrendous. Some of them look as well, where they've been cut up as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's no footprints around them. They're exsanguinated. There's no blood found. They take the sex organs, the tongue, and certain things that they go soft tissue. But that's what you would want if you wanted to check somebody for radiation levels. Would be the soft tissue, So
it's almost like they just be dumped from the sky, isn't it? From just
It seems to happen in areas where they used to test nuclear weapons, so maybe that is military, but I don't know. I haven't made my mind up about
helicopters and stuff like that. You mean?
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah.
You've not had You've not had any mutilation cases yourself, though, have you?
We've had some mutilation cases. I haven't gone out on one. I think Jeff went out on one that was up in Central California. That was weird. It's the usual. It was exsanguinated and stuff. But
So what's your feeling on Skinwalker? What's your feeling on Skinwalker Ranch? Then you got any opinion on that?
I like the fact that it seems like a sort of like a parabolic antenna, the way that the area is shaped, and maybe there's that energy is being concentrated down there.
Piezoelectric.
I'll also say, and I wonder if it's, again, I wonder if Skinwalker is at MK Ultra or not. I'm not sure about Skinwalker. I've thought about that, a lot. and so it could be,
Yeah, but it might be just the area where one of these crossovers from multi-universe happens, a portal area, which
there's stories with the Navajo Hopi and the Navajo won't go near there. They believe it's a cursed area, and usually the American Indians are very open to contact. It's the sky people. That's the Kachinas of the Hopi. The Hopi tribe is they came down from the sky, and they taught them agriculture and language and everything. Just like you go to different cultures and you hear the same story. So I don't know, but it would be. I don't think that our government is beyond taking conveniences and using them, and I know that I am sure that certain, like the black triangles, I'm not convinced that those are alien craft. I think that those may be ours. People describe, I've had some people, different witnesses, a police officer, an aerospace engineer, where they described certain things about them, where it looked like there were air intakes on the sides and stuff. If you have a spaceship, you don't really need an air intake.
No, but not anti-gravity anyway.
Yeah, I think that they might be, the next.
Although you've heard
too,
you've heard of plasma ion engines, it might open up the vents to suck in air to turn it into this energy that pops out the back to push it along. So it's possible. I wouldn't rule it out being alien technology.
People say they have nuclear cores, that there's a nuclear core going on. And I have one friend who's a rocket scientist who he and his father, and he never made a UFO report, by the way. He's just a friend from music circles. I've known him for 20 years, for God's sake.
Right, you got some music
20 years.
Yeah.
See, he's a skeptic. He's worse than you are, Paul. He's a skeptic about everything. But he and his dad were flown over on the freeway by one of the black triangles, and he said, "No, that's ours. It's a hydrogen blimp, or a sky ship, and it's probably nuclear powered, and because it moved fast. That was the one thing. It was over them, and then it was gone. It was like shot off into the distance." Right. So his opinion is that it's probably a nuclear powered hydrogen lighter than aircraft. So
this is a picture of you on a band, isn't it? Is that a picture
there
of you?
You go. That's me as a musician. That's from like 1990 or so. I don't know why I sent those to you, except they're just fun, So I had more hair.
That looks like
but it just doesn't look as good as it did back then.
It has the Doors
Eddie
look
Van
to it.
Halen. I'm so sad. We lost Eddie.
Yeah, it kind of has the Doors look.
Player.
The Doors player look. Light my fire. Baby, light my fire.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
There's a more modern one.
Piss,
what's happened
more
there?
Recent. That was just
a fractal.
Fun, and it's actually just it was a tree that was lit up in San Francisco. I thought was really kind of pretty outside of a restaurant.
Right.
So I decided to use it for a background and sort of
I can see now.
Put myself in there, and it was just like for gigs I was doing and stuff. So I have another one with the same background. Those are flyers from when I was playing out in LA back in the 1990s.
Let's see if we can see up close. So is that you or?
Yeah,
it is.
That's young Earl. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, it looks so different.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There you
was
go.
you in a band then, was you?
Yeah,
been in plenty of bands.
He's written some good songs. Haven't you listened to him on the Discord there?
What bands have you been called then?
Yeah.
What band?
I've been in a few, but mostly the last when the professional gigs I've done have mostly just been as a solo artist with backup bands. I had one group called Earl Grey and the Hoodlums. It's kind of fun. And I was back in the 1970s. I was in a black gospel band. They did funk gospel, and I was the token honky of that band. I'll let you know. I was the only white guy. 17 members, horn section, and we had soul. We had, it was a funky thing. We played all kinds of great places and every little tiny church, black church in Los Angeles. But we played the Aquarius Theater, where Hair was, the stage play Hair was premiered. We played there with Billy Preston. We used to open for a lot of people, like, we opened for
right.
Marvin Gaye. We opened for Al Green.
Good standard group then, singing.
Oh yeah. Well, those guys, I was sort of, the way that our producer worked it. He was Ike and Tina Turner's old sound man.
Oh, yeah.
And he got tired of the cocaine and everything that was going on with him. So he started his own where, he tried to make it like a gospel themed thing, but it was all kinds of different music. So we would back each other up like a review. So I would do my rock stuff when I would play. And I had amazing guys that were, the musicians were just fabulous. Our one horn player was in the band Rufus, tell me something good, tell me that you like it. Yeah, that was his jam,
You haven't lost it.
There one guy had played with
he
Jimi
still plays
Hendrix
every night.
when he was young.
Yeah,
I still play. I just slowing down because I'm getting older. And
he plays to his cats when he's at home. He plays to the cats and the wife when he's home, and weekends he's out there. Out there. Yeah, out there. He gets free
beers. Playing shows now. Where do you play now?
On the beach. But Corona Beach.
Now my producer that now I don't think. Well, Paul knows these songs, Seventh Sister and Strangest of Times.
I'll find
the guy
it.
that produced those for me, he had a UFO sighting off of Ventura Beach the other night.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it was a weird one. And now his dad was the pilot that the Air Force sent to chase after the Lubbock Lights UFO. And he was given a medal. And he couldn't tell, and I've seen the medal. He couldn't tell his family why the government gave it to him, but he was highly decorated. They gave him 2 different medals for what he did, with the Lubbock Lights. And he said it was a craft, that was an actual craft. It was a V-shaped thing with lights on it. And it scared the hell out of him, but he chased after it to the best of his ability. And that's my friend's dad. So it seems like sightings and this stuff, it runs in families very often. So it didn't surprise me that my friend had another sighting last night. He had one outside of his recording studio. He has a recording studio in the middle of nowhere, and he saw a black disc with one red light in front of it. It's perfectly silent. He was outside peeing on a rock, and he saw this thing flying over his ranch, right? He has a ranch. So he calls his wife. His wife and his drummer come running out. So there were 3 witnesses to it. It was heading towards Port Hueneme, which is a naval base here. And there was a chase plane behind it. So maybe one of our UFOs, Now you could talk for... but I have to wake up tomorrow, so I'm gonna sign off here, you guys.
Okay. On that note, we'll play your song on the ending here for you.
Thank you.
I did it with.
We'll do this again soon. Huh?
Okay, great.
Nice to meet you, Earl.
Yeah.
It was great to meet you, Charlie.
This place, Seventh Sister, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah, you can say that.
There we go.
You guys have a sweet evening or day, I guess. But it's like early morning for you guys.
Yeah, we will do.
Oh my God.
Thanks very much.
You guys are stalwart and amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have a wonderful night, you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye,
See you.
Bye. Bye.
Night all. We'll just do some after show chat here.
Okay, cool.
Okay, see ya. Okay, so this is Earl's music, one of the better ones. I love this song.
I'm trawling for honor in this shadow.
And it was an Art Bell tribute video I did. And I need to switch the camera up here.
Puget Sound. Berenice is hair.
And we'll stick to Robert, I suppose.
Robert's just going to control it, I think.
It was a very serious sighting. And here's what happened. My wife, Ramona, and myself at the time.
Talking about the black
triangles.
triangles.
Back from Las Vegas at about, 10:30, quarter to 11 at night, something like that.
Is that too loud now?
We were, I would guess, about 3/4 of a mile, maybe a mile from home. And Ramona said, "What the hell is that?" And she saw light coming up behind the vehicle. And I said, "No idea." She said, stop the car. So I stopped it. And let me tell you about that night. There was about a 3/4 moon.
See, I can do good video
maybe
editing
more than
too.
3/4. And it was out
Looks
there
like
in the
it's-
desert where we are.
Looks like it's moving.
It's so
and all that.
quiet that you could hear crickets, a quarter of a mile away. I mean, that's really quiet, right? No sound at all. No highways, no road noise, nothing. So we were in a little car. We stopped it, got out, and oh my God, from the rear, coming directly at us, here is this giant triangle. And when I say giant triangle, I mean really big. When this thing came over us, the stars went away, the moon went away, everything went away.
I love hearing this story.
It could not have been more than 150 feet above us. It was metallic. It actually had lights on it, on all 3 corners of the triangle. And it was deadly silent. I mean, you could still hear the crickets a quarter mile away. There was no propulsion. There was nothing. And this thing went directly over our head. I went into, as did she, a state of shock. I mean, we were just in shock. We stood there and we watched this darn thing go out across the Pahrump Valley and head toward what we know to be as Area 51. Never a sound from it. It could not have been going more than 30, 40 miles an hour, very slow. And we came home and I was doing at the time a radio show talking about this kind of thing. So I came home and I tried to decide if I was going to tell anybody about it because it would seem hokey, it would seem fake, it would seem ginned up or something. Anyway, I finally decided I was going to talk about it on the air, which I did. I reported it to MUFON, but a week later, 1 week later, there was an article in the Pahrump Valley Times, our local newspaper here, and it said a whole bunch of people in the Pahrump Valley had seen the same thing I did and called the newspaper. Well, the newspaper turned around and called the Air Force Base in Las Vegas. And they, they told the newspaper that, yes, indeed, there had been a secret mission that had overflown the Pahrump Valley that night, but that it was a C-130 aircraft.
Cover up.
Now, I was in the Air Force. I flew in C-130s. If a C-130 had flown 150 feet above me, my teeth would have rattled. So It was a joke. What they said was an absolute ridiculous lie and a joke. But there you are. We were, thank God, not the only ones who saw it. But we didn't know that until later. This thing was defying gravity. There's no, it either was floating, and it was not a balloon because it was metallic, had no apparent propulsion, therefore it was defying gravity. And it was gigantic. So you tell me what it was.
That sounds very similar to what Earl just told us about those triangle cases of his. So I played the full song now of the Earl song. We'll let people have a listen to it, and we'll have a little break here. I'll go to the toilet, and we'll have a little chat after when we get back. Okay?
Scintillas in the stream, hoping for what's true. I'm trawling for honor in this shallow pool. across the horizon to the full end. Where is my lucky star tonight? The seventh sister of the Pleiades walks in beauty like the night. Oh, that is best, dark and lost to
Ooh, weapon there. CPU peaked at it. You can see he's an excellent guitarist and singer, eh?
only trust in the northern star. That's the only point that's fixed. I once believed in love.
I think he could have got a #1 on this and made millions of dollars on this song.
Love cannot bridge this rift. Where is my lucky star tonight?
Sounds better in headset, by the way.
The seventh sister of the Pleiades, who walks in beauty like the night. All that is best, dark and bright. Lost to me.
Oh, it's you glitching, Robert. I wonder what the crackle noise was.
Probably me, I'll just come back and follow.
Your voice is a bit lower than the music, I think. So we'll just wait. It's almost ended. I like listening to that guitar, it's really good.
Got a good voice.
Yeah.
There is no bridge.
What's he saying there?
There's nothing here.
Open lines.
You just diminished in your magnitude until you're disappeared.
It's strange how I get a sub, but my sub count always goes backwards. Instead of going up to 98, it went back to 96. You can't tell me Google's not messing around.
They're doing something to you.
Yeah, they are.
You think Earl believed in these UFOs when he was just a singer?
He believed in aliens with his mother's story.
So did yeah. While he was in school, I believe.
So yeah, we'll just leave it there. He's actually got he's got a YouTube channel where you can actually see just the video of the song itself if you want to go and rip it, I guess, or download it, whatever you want to do it with it. But I reckon he should make some money of that song. It's probably one of his best ones, I think. I've heard anyway. But apparently he printed off all these CDs, and of course that was just the turn of where people were getting away from CDs and going to MP3 formats. So he's got boxes of them in the loft apparently that no one wants, and he couldn't sell them. I said, well, you should try sell it through the UFO channels, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people would like that song on maybe DVD at least, if it's available. But yeah, it's a good song, that one, and it suits Art Bell to a T there, I reckon. So that's why I used it. Give them both a plug. But yeah, Earl really got into UFOs and aliens from his mother's stories, overhearing stuff and stuff like that. She believed the Betty and Barney Hill story was possibly was true and happened, and of course started a big fight in the family. A cousin or whatever it was, auntie, didn't actually believe in it. So yeah, but he didn't have his encounters till after he joined MUFON, which is kind of interesting. And when he started meeting other contactees and doing investigations, so was they trying to send a signal to him, or inducing him to something to make him believe more in it? But I think maybe because his mother had connections of the underground base. Apparently she was pregnant with him when she was in the underground base, so maybe that might have something to do with it. Who knows?
Well, this is why I asked him if any of the other MUFON investigators have had any, contacts or anything like that. So
yeah, I believe there are a few out there. They've had contacts, and also a lot of them had their own personal UFO up-close sightings as well, like over the house and all that sort of stuff. That's why they get into MUFON. You got to remember, all these investigators are not funded. They join, they pay the membership. They got to pay for their own tests and retests to keep them in, make sure they're still doing standards, and they got to buy their own equipment, like radiation meter, EMF meters, and all that sort of stuff. It's not all given to them.
And these are genuine people as well. They're not like these others that are getting.
No, they're like us, everyday people that had something happen and they want to find out the answers. And MUFON seemed to be the place where they could get in touch with other people and maybe try and validate what their experiences are about. That's what we're all doing, really. Yeah. You talked about frauds out there that never had any experiences, or maybe they lie about their experiences. I know the Cousin Bros talked about having visitation when they were kids, but I don't believe the story at all, because they don't act like it. Now, once you've had that visitation, it never leaves your mind, right? You're always thinking about it.
If they lie to you, you're never going to believe anything that they say.
Yeah, if they've been caught in a lie, then it makes it even more so, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think Tyler's...
Whoa, just a sec, Paul. MUFON had no competition for a long, long time now, decades, since after when NICAP back then. So there was nowhere else really to go if you wanted to be an investigator. You got the UFO Scientific Coalition now, haven't you? But I think you have to have a science background to get involved with them.
Yeah,
as far as I understand. So yeah, it's a pity what's happened with the board and all this controversy and stuff. But
yeah.
What choice do people have?
Like Earl said, Jeff said, it's MUFON's a mess and it needs a restructuring, but there's still nothing out there better than it, so there's no point in leaving it. That's the quote right, from Earl and Jeff Krause, and that's basically it. It's a group of good people there, maybe a few bad seeds doesn't make it all bad, right?
No. Just one proper organisation.
Well, you've just seen some of the cases he's worked on, and he's had personal contact with these people and got them to draw drawings. He does it properly, he's a proper investigator, and goes out and photographs where they were looking, looks for any signs of footprints and all that sort of stuff, which an investigator should do.
And he follows up with people as well, like you said.
Yeah.
Keeps in touch with them, doesn't he?
Yeah. So everybody's seeking answers, but I think there's a few people that are invited in a circle like he was talking about. Maybe I've been invited in with my visitation I had, and even when I met Earl, I was sort of laughing when he said if you become a friend of mine and we talk about UFOs all the time, don't blame me if something else happens to you in the alien field. And of course it had. I don't know, it's just crazy just to wrap your head around it all. But like I said, I've had other stuff that's happened since that initial sighting that sort of validates it for me, with the buzzing in the ears and the pain control and all that sort of stuff. It's certainly not mental. There's no way you can switch off back pain in your head. You know that, Charles.
Yeah.
You got to use hardcore drugs or find a position to lay down and not move, sort of thing.
You can't get much more hardcore than morphine and stuff like that to get rid of pain.
Yeah. Maybe you need the aliens to visit you and put a chip in your back as well.
Yeah. That's what I said to you some time ago. I wish they'd come in and look at me and sort my back out. I wouldn't mind if it's...
Well, just beware. It's more pain than you'll ever experience anyway. There was worse, the pain.
My back out at the end, I don't mind.
Yeah, as long as they not. I think I wasn't meant to wake up during it, but obviously, you know, when you get super pain, it wakes you up.
Well, I think that you're saying that, but people have operations in operating theatres, don't they? And they wake up sometimes. Some of them after the operations, don't they? You know, and they're lying there and they can't speak and they can't move, and the operation is still going on. Yeah, and they can feel everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think that anything more terrible than that.
Yeah.
Just having a major operation, and you know.
Yeah. So, just bring up this again. So this is probably similar to what Art Bell saw then. Great big craft like that with multi-stories just silently drifting overhead. And that's very similar to other cases. I saw there was something else on MUFON database. So I was actually going to ask him if there's any helplines before he left, but I've totally forgot. He said, recommend this book here from Kathleen Marden. Called Extraterrestrial Contact: What to Do When You've Been Abducted.
Oh yeah.
So the project contact numbers are in there, aren't they?
Yeah. So that sells for $15 Kindle, or paperback is cheaper. You think it'd be the other way around, wouldn't you? But anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you've got any helplines for anyone that's been abducted where they can call up and get them to interview. I suppose there is a contact thing. I think it was on the MUFON page. I think that's why he asked me to look at this here. On one of these pages here, there's contact for him for ERT. So here's another triangle one. Maybe that's the one he was talking about. A pseudo name, Wooded Mountainous region, a black triangle craft moving at a speed of a small aircraft. So that one's got drawings and some paperwork. So I'm not sure. There's quite a few of these triangle ones that are seen around California, though. So I don't know. Is he on the MUFON database here somewhere? About the people or something? Let's see. Leadership.
Yeah, but he did say a lot of these triangle ones are, you know, man-made type things, aren't they? A lot of them.
I'm not.
Not all of them, but you know.
Some of it might be reverse tech, of course. There's always that possibility. Oh, here we go.
I don't think that case.
There's Kathleen Marden. I don't know if we click on her, she's got a contact number, probably. Let's have a look. Earl Grey's there.
Yeah, it's Betty Hill's niece.
Yeah. I just saw his name pop up. Where is it? Oh, right, he's at the top. So is there any phone numbers there, or no? It just gives a rundown on him. You think there'd be some contact numbers for people?
I think you just phone MUFON first, and they pick the most suitable guy that's closest to you.
Yeah. So I went to here. Where was it? News, I think. UFO News. And it comes up with all these cases, I think. And there's the triangle one there. It's not a really nice website, I don't find. Now, what's this one here? That one looks.
Some cases aren't available unless you remember, are they?
Yeah. What's that one there? That one looks
maybe
interesting.
Maybe they're waiting for you to join them, Paul. Maybe they join them and then you could do a proper website for them, then, couldn't you?
Yeah, I'm not really into website coding now. You have to make it so it's compatible with tablets now. And, little touch screens. It's just a lot of people out there that do this sort of stuff anyway, that charge reasonable rates for it, Yeah. I think originally the MUFON databases were set up by, like you said, free members, make it free, but obviously it's grown big over the time. It's got a bit messy. I think it needs like a overhaul, like everyone's saying, and just make it better. But yeah, it's better than nothing. The only one that's got anything set up where people can actually report anything and actually have investigators come out and phone you and stuff, right? So, and I don't think the Dream Team are going to replace MUFON anytime soon.
We don't want.
Sorry?
Would I say we don't want them to?
No. You're cutting out there on your mic a lot, I noticed, Charles. I'm not too sure why it happens, but I think sometimes it's best to drop out every 20 minutes and back in again. Generally fixes it.
Do you want me to do that now?
You can do it now.
Yeah, just refresh the page, Charles.
Okay.
See, Robert doesn't cut out like that. It's only you, but then and of course I didn't hear any cut out on Earl. Earl was perfect audio there, wasn't it? As far as I heard.
No, it wasn't. From my end, he cut out a couple of times.
Did he? I never heard any cutouts.
It's like your voice seems to dominate. When you clash, your voice always comes over, and you can't hear what the other person is saying.
I didn't hear it my end. We have to play it back and see how it come out.
Is that okay now?
Yeah, I think so. We'll just have to. Yeah, I think it sounds a bit better. You sing louder than everybody else too. I've had to up the volume a wee bit because Robert was a bit low for some reason.
Charles seemed loud.
Yeah, he seemed
Charles
louder
than me.
Really? He's really loud for me.
Yeah, honestly. And Earl was a bit low as well.
Did you click on the three dots and? Did you click on the three dots and make sure they're on maximum volume? Because that's what I was doing pre-show. Yeah. When I was doing pre-show, you saw me clicking on the dots and checking everybody's volume and adjusting it so everybody was pretty much equal. Pre-show.
When it's processed, it may be fine. I don't know.
Actually, I might just post a link to that book he recommended everybody should get if you've been abducted.
Yeah, there was one thing I was going to say there, though. I didn't get a chance in the end because Earl needed to get away. Yeah. He talked about night paralysis and abduction. Well, I've had night paralysis since I was, when I first recall, I was about 12 when it started, and I still get it to this day. That's not abduction,
No.
That's a poor excuse for abduction.
It is, yeah.
It's a sleep disorder, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like an on and an off switch. Obviously, you're paralyzed during the hours when you're sleeping. Otherwise, you're just going to carry out your dreams and you're going to hurt yourself. But with me, when I wake up, the other switch doesn't switch me back on, if you see what I mean, for a few seconds. And then you're struggling then to get moving. And it's quite scary, but you don't see aliens. I can tell you that now.
No.
Well, sometimes it lasts a long time, doesn't it? I've read that.
I don't know how long it is, Charles. I'll never know how long it is. But one day, my dad witnessed me having it. I was kipping on the couch, and he was downstairs watching the TV, and he said it's 4 or 5 seconds.
Okay, Susan, we'll see you later.
Yeah,
I think she's.
Bye, Susan.
I think she's gone already, though. Hey, we got some kangaroos, Stan.
Yeah, but
How you guys doing in Australia? We're not in Australia. I'm in New Zealand. They're up in UK, United Kingdom. Music you like? Yeah, it's a really nice music piece that Earl wrote there. I reckon he should have made some good money from that. At the moment, he's in. He's got a knee operation and he's not fully mended, and they want him to go back to work soon, which is ridiculous. He wouldn't be able to lift up a patient because his normal job as a nursing aide. He wouldn't be able to lift up children and stuff. Not while he's still on the mend. So it's a bit strange that they're forcing him to go back to work. I said, you must be able to. In our country, you'd get the doctor would just give you another 3 months, or maybe even put you permanently on disability so you can't get payments. Obviously, it doesn't work that way in America. But yeah. He really needs to be full-time MUFON investigator, as far as he should be paid, and he shouldn't have to worry about doing a nursing job anymore, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I have recommended to the Skinwalker Ranch owner that they should have him on their scientific team for the show, because they need someone like that knows how to debunk, or at least do video analysis and have critical thinking, and not call balloons and stuff on their show as UFOs. But and bugs, of course, was one of them, and birds as well. And they should pay him. They should pay him like a normal job. Maybe 3 times the amount of money. Then that way, when the show ends, he's still got enough to live on. But yeah, maybe
he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah,
he knows what he's talking about, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
there's certainly there's certainly a lot of questions and answers though, and no one has the answer to it still. And everybody's saying, get evidence, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah, no.
But you're never going to get anything until some UFO actually lands and they make contact. You're not going to make any know anything really, are we?
No.
I don't think that's ever going to happen the way we're behaving, to be honest.
No. Well, that's what I was saying about the wars and stuff like that. It's keeping them away, isn't it?
Maybe so. It's like I've said this before. I think if there's a hornet's nest at the bottom of your garden, and you're really going to go down there and start a conversation with them,
you're
only going to get stung.
Yeah, when we say stung, we mean obliteration, don't we, with them? Robert's gone.
Gone?
Oh, sorry, your picture's just gone. Robert's picture's just gone.
No,
it's still here.
Well, I can't see Robert's picture. It's gone.
Wave,
Robert's gone.
Wave to us.
Oh, good.
His sound's there, but his picture's gone.
Yeah, I've got a blank screen. Completely blank.
Really?
I can hear you, though.
Is he locked up?
No, Robert's back. It's a bit blurry, but it's there.
Is it? I still can't see it.
Yeah, it's there.
It's okay.
It's a still picture.
No, it's back. Oh, there, it's moving.
No. Got him back now. He's back now. Yeah.
Well, it was always back here. If you play back the video, you'll see he's always there. Wherever he's stored.
He wasn't here because he wasn't here. He's gone.
So, what do you reckon to this girl's eyes? Do you reckon they're reptilian type eyes?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see it like that. They're unusual, that's for sure. The pupils are
unusual, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're unusual. Like Robert, you know that Madeline case where she disappeared.
Madeline McCann. Yes.
Yeah, well, she got an eye like that, hasn't she?
Yeah,
something wrong with eye people.
I can't remember what the medical condition was, but it was a birth defect.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's hard to say, so we don't know.
Earl didn't mention if she was RH negative or not. Like,
well, he believes that she had something happen to her. Whether he can prove that her story is legit is another thing, I guess.
Yeah, but he's had contact with her, hasn't he? He's spoken to her as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
we haven't. So
we can't judge.
yeah.
So it might be like projected memory that they often talk about, where they present something that they may have seen in their childhood to them, so it's something they are not scared of. Maybe she's not scared of reptiles, you know, like most people.
Ooh, don't know.
Or spiders and stuff like that.
Yeah. They must get itchy between the legs, I would have thought, with all those scales on. But yeah, look at the claws on the hands. This kind of looks horrible. And that's his tail there. I thought it was a dagger when I first looked, but you can see it's a tail coming off.
Just scratch it to pieces with them nails, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, although some females get nails put on like fake ones. And this one here's the same girl. So she said it was like a cylinder craft of all things, glowing blue and green. Just trying to make out what all these beams of lights coming off. I suppose it's just very bright. But I can't understand what the thing there with the eye is. What that was meaning.
Unless it's something like a third eye or something.
I don't know.
It could be something like a third eye.
Or the direction she was looking. I don't know. Kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably is because it's got an eye and it's got a north above it. Look, NTH.
Looking
so it's
north.
I'm looking north. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a grassy field to the right side.
It's like one of those pictogram quiz shows, right? Ground below.
Yeah,
What's it saying here about ground below? Below hill. Oh, right, below hill.
Yeah.
Really, you need to probably like a Google map as well on this one here, just to see what she's looking at.
Yeah. So that is cylinder craft, it's saying, isn't it? Cylinder craft, glowing green and blue. Or blue and green. No lights visible.
Yep.
Not moving or no sound. 600 feet off ground.
Yeah.
Jeez, I can't see that.
You can't see
I've got my glasses on. Take my glasses off, I can't see. Got them on.
900 feet tall. 9 feet tall, I mean. What's 9 feet tall? Is she talking about the alien that come out? Right, the cylinder height. The cylinder height was 9 feet tall. So what's that compared to our size? About normal, isn't it? How many is 9 feet? Is that like a door frame?
Good God, no. The average,
no.
The average of a man is 5'7".
What's the door? I think the door's just about 6 foot, isn't it? Just over 6 foot, isn't it? The door.
Yeah.
So maybe this is suggesting that all cylinder craft actually these reptoids, and the other ones, the saucers and the spheres, the greys. So it could be like two types of alien species. Doesn't mean that only one type has found us here in the universe. If his mum was saying that if it was like Star Wars, there's going to be lots of different weird aliens out there, and they're all fighting for resources.
Well, if one species could find us, then many can. And,
Yeah. So what else was there? The triangle one, which was quite good. And this strange one that had ripples for a shell of a craft. Not drawn very well though, was it? Oh, I should be zooming in the other way. So she was looking at the window at this craft. But why she only draw half of it? That's like half a flying saucer here. There's the dome, there's the circular bit. So why'd she only do it like half? Kind of weird.
Strange.
I can't quite read that word there. Skated. No.
Top crafts.
Shaded, maybe?
Perfectly
round. Around the craft.
Around the craft, yeah.
Oh, I think it might be shield. Top of the craft, shield. No, what's that word there? B, perfectly. Yeah, I don't know.
Says by that one.
Bruise like a record. Right. Okay. So yeah, so he bought us a few cases, not too many. I suppose he's got to be careful which ones he get permission from. Yeah, it was kind of funny. He promoted the show yesterday, right? And I told him it would be 10 p.m. his time, which is PST, Pacific Standard Time, and it'll be 1 a.m. Eastern Time, and he put it up on his YouTube page as 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I said, yes, it looks good, but you got the time wrong for Eastern. They're actually probably most of them be in bed, as it's not a really good time. Because I tried to get him on a bit earlier. I said, oh, can you do 7 p.m. instead? Because more people would have been up then. But I think he had like some sort of outing and then come home. So they had dinner out or whatever. So he said he couldn't do that time, but 7 p.m. would have been like 4 p.m. my time. We could have done 4 p.m. quite easily, and it would have been more people on probably on the side chat and stuff. But yeah, all the people that all the people that hate me miss out on all this good stuff, though, don't they?
Yeah.
And because he's got these other pictures here that which I was flicking through. And tried to get him to explain some of them, but we never got through all of them. But yeah, look at this.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, hurry up then.
I was just going to say that he'd come on to your show because he knows you're a genuine person, but wouldn't go on somebody like Third Phase.
No,
you wouldn't go on their channel.
No,
but he has appeared on a few shows.
Yeah,
he was with the week before. He was with Ed Kalux.
Yeah, but you can't class her as Blake Cousins, though. So I like this. I like this. You know how Make American Great Again. They've now got a cat from MUFON. Make MUFON scientific again. I like that. For some reason, it didn't pick up that image. I would have actually made comment on it. So what else ones did we miss out on here? We saw that one. Saw that one. We never saw that. We never saw that. Saw that one.
Saw that.
Saw that one. That one. And his time machine. That's probably at that museum. There's a thing called a Reagan Hall, and also they've got the museum with all these sort of strange Hollywood artifacts, you know, the museum gets. That one's kind of weird looking, I thought. I thought he mirrored his face. So you know how if you mirror the face, it goes... This goes crazy, but it looks like he's coloured it somehow. And maybe squashed it a wee bit, maybe.
Yeah.
It kind of looks freaky, that one. I think we've gone through all of them. And we've got this one here with the Hynek. I think that's Hynek with the pipe.
Yes, too.
Welcome, UFO people. See, he likes to do colourful artwork like this. He gets a photograph and puts it through his own Apple editor, graphic editor. Yeah, makes it more like 1960s artwork. Psychedelic, man. That one there must be in the same museum with the time machine, by the looks of it. Some Egyptian goddess, does it? Or was it Indian? It could be Indian. Yeah, it looks like it could be Indian. I don't know. Also, it could be Egyptian.
Scroll up a little bit again, please.
Sorry?
Oh, no, I didn't get a look at the face on that statue then.
Wait, which one do you want to look at? This one?
Statue, that one. That one's talking about.
Yeah, art Egyptian.
Yeah.
See, I think it might be Egyptian because they have that thing going down the outside, don't they?
Yeah, fair go.
But what throws me off is the feathers on the armband here, though. But there is rumours that the Egyptians did get in contact with the Indians, though, wasn't it? There's meant to be like a secret cave in Grand Canyon there that the government won't let anyone explore near. Basically, it's on protected land, so you can't go there and hang off the cliff and actually try and find this missing cave entrance. Apparently, if you go into the cave entrance, there's meant to be this haul of gold and mummies and Egyptian artifacts that shouldn't be there in America, right? In Indian land, right? You've probably seen some TV shows on it where some guy stumbled across it. So this one here, I thought you might have mentioned. He's got these cockatoos, and you're a bird parrot fan. And
Cockatiel I've got. Cockatiel. It's a bit small.
He likes these birds. That's when he did a trip to Australia. And do we know who that is?
Hynek.
No, Hynek.
Oh, God, Paul Hynek it is, of course.
Yeah, yes. And he's quite a tall guy, isn't he? So, not too sure what conference that is. Alien Con, is it? So we didn't actually get to ask him these other ones, but he took off. But we asked him about the bands before he clicked off there. So we're seeing them all now. But he always gives me lots of images because he knows I like putting them up, and it gives us something to talk about and give another subject to it, right? Yeah. So I don't know if you guys want to wrap up now, and we're coming up to 3 hours, I suppose. Yeah. Unless you want to say anything about tonight's show at all.
It's been good.
Yeah, it was really good, wasn't it? And it's only going to get better. But there was some crackle at the beginning there, some mistakes I made on the intro, but we got there in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just,
you said a while ago as well that my computer thing isn't a Chrome. It's a Chrome box I use. The browser.
Yeah.
You said it's the Chrome box I use, so I can't use any other browser.
No.
Oh.
Yours is like a cut down Android tablet basically, and you plug in the screen.
It's a box. It's a box I use, a small box.
Yeah, it's like
everything on the side.
It's like an Android portable computer, and you plug it into HDMI for your screen, and you plug in a normal Microsoft. You plug in a normal mouse into it that you use on your PC.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's
like an unused Chrome with
as well.
Yeah,
but you got a Chrome box.
Okay.
You can actually buy these Chinese boxes, exactly the same, and they've not been crippled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Chrome box has been crippled by Google, so you can only you're limited to what you can do on it. But you're limited to the apps, so you can't. And of course, the browser doesn't work the same way it does with Windows, so you can't do it the same way we do it here.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Unless you got a. Yeah, but the Android boxes in China, they're dual boot. You can actually have ones that actually run Windows as well, and you can select whether to choose it as Android or boot it into what they call tablet Windows and use the apps and all that on there. Or you can disable that and use it like a normal Windows PC. I got my tablet as a dual boot, and it's just like normal Windows 8.1 on it. So I could always use that to fall back onto. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't tried streaming from it. It'd be interesting to see what we could do. It'd be very limited, I'd say, but I should be able to do something on it. Anyway.
I've enjoyed the show anyway today, so
it's different, and probably I'll do another live stream probably Friday, maybe midweek one, just to do catch up. I don't know. I will see how much I've got to do. Maybe I can do it all on Saturday.
Just let me know and I'll be here for
you. Right. I'll just see how I feel. But yes, you can see we got a sub, but the count should have gone upwards and it's gone backwards. Doesn't make any
Oh,
sense.
somebody gave me I was going to mention, somebody gave me a tip for you. You know, when you, after the show, and then you have to go through the show, they're saying that if you clap, and then if you want something cut out of the program, if you clap or make a noise, when you go through and you go through like the pig things, it shows up these claps there where you wanted that delete or mistake or something was made. It's easier for you to pick out things that you want to pull out of the show.
Yeah, but it's no
You
way
know
to
what I mean?
search. There's no way to search for that clap though. You might as well just say cut.
Yeah.
It's the same as doing a clap.
No,
You know
I don't know, but that's what I just seen somebody do on YouTube. They were making a comment that if you just go something like that, then you look back on it and then you can see when the zigzags go up and down and you see that noise, you can just know there was a mistake there.
We've got other functions that I'm too scared to use because I need to really practice doing a demonstration one. It's called Add Marker, which I think is the same as what Susan does with chapters. But I haven't got time to add markers while I'm doing a show. I'm troubleshooting or doing a host presenting. And the other one is called Create Highlight Video. I think if you click a button where maybe Earl was talking, it'll create 10 seconds or 20-second preview.
And it wouldn't sound very good if you're going through a program and all of a sudden you just, would it just clap or something?
There were some, you could just do that on your mic like this, right? Crackle noises. Exactly the same, Well, sometimes you get the crackle. When Rob was putting his head jack in, it goes crackle.
Yeah.
But anyway, I suppose we better wrap up now. Just let it process and let people go to the beginning. And we can also talk on Discord after the show if you want to, if I'm around. Or get on with the rest of the day, guys. So I'll just see you in the next show. Yeah, I'll just say goodbye to the alien. Right click on his head and
see you, Robert.
Yeah, see you, Charles. And
bye, man.
Okay, yep, end credits are coming up. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing we don't get hundreds of people watching. They really do miss out on what we do here. But I know some will watch it because of the hours are pretty bad at the moment.
Yeah, that was just about the most of the time.
Yeah, because normally we'd have probably Area 51 on. He would have loved that. I think he would have loved that show, but we'll find out.
Yeah,
and it would have been good to see some donations, especially with Earl on there, just to appreciate that he put in his time and helps the channel out. It would be good to earn so much that you can actually pay Earl, If no one else wants to pay him full time to be UFOs, we could do it, if we're earning that much money. We could say, you can be full time as long as you do a weekly show,
That's not much. And you know
No. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know there's going to be some skeptics out there still, but until you have your own experience, that's the way it's going to be, I guess. Good night.
Good night.